Why is Sonic in a car? Why is he on a hoverboard? These were the eternal questions we had as Sonic-loving kids, or maybe even adults. And these questions, both of them, are back for the upcoming Sonic Racing Crossworlds, in which we'll finally find out who was the better racer. Sonic, Shadow, maybe even Jet from Sonic Riders, SpongeBob, Pac-Man? But maybe, just maybe, these questions can be answered not by looking at Sonic Racing Crossworlds, but instead by going back in time through the entire history of Sonic racing games. So, I've spent the last few months 100%ing every single Sonic racing game in search of answers. And I will never be the same. But before I give you the answer I came up with, we need to go back all the way to 1994 where it all began. So, I'll be handing this off to the Eonaegis in 1994. Eon? Right. I wasn't conceived yet. I guess I have to field this one myself then. Bringing us back all the way to 1994, Sonic Drift was a Japanese exclusive Game Gear game, and if you don't know what a Game Gear is, trust me, that's okay. Not a lot of people know. It's basically Sega's own Game Boy that got outsold by the Game Boy. But this isn't a history lesson on consoles, so I'm gonna leave it at that. What's important here is that this game released exclusively in Japan. But thanks to a re-release in Sonic Mega Collection Plus released for PS2, Xbox and PC internationally, which was itself an expanded version of Sonic Mega Collection for GameCube, yeah, this is becoming a mess already, I was able to play this after tracking down a copy online and installing it to my modern 2025 PC. And then realizing that it's not working properly because it's a game from 2004 and has no idea what an X input is. But after troubleshooting a game from 21 years ago, it finally started running correctly and I was able to play it. All that trouble! And I could have just googled play Sonic Drift in my browser. The first result lets you play the damn game in the browser. And even worse, after all of that, I feel like I traveled into a parallel universe, because after all of this, I found out as I was writing this very video that Sonic Drift is readily available in Sonic Origins Plus. Like, I went through wikis and Wikipedia itself, and they just never mentioned it. I really overcomplicated this. Well, that's enough about me. What about the game? That sure is a Game Gear game. The Game Gear wasn't exactly powerful, or had nice audio, or was good at anything, again kind of like the Game Boy, so it was bound to be a little simple. Have you tried running a racing game on a calculator before? It's not easy. It's kind of like those very early NES racing games, where everything is just a straight road due to technical limitations. But the Super Mario Kart-esque map layout at the top of the screen does give the illusion of it being a proper lap around the circuit, though the gameplay and map do not match up very well in spite of this. Anyway, there are 3 GPs, each of which goes through the same 6 level themes every time based on the first Sonic game's zones: Green Hill, Marble, Spring Yard, Labyrinth, Starlight, and finally Scrap Rain. You play as one of 4 playable characters, each with their own special power that they can activate by spending 2 rings. Sonic has a speed boost, which, I mean, it's a boost, what more do you want? Tails can jump, which seems pointless, but weirdly enough, jumping has the side effect of automatically turning the corner, which can be very useful if you suck, like me. Amy and Eggman both have some kind of attack, and I think these lay a trap or something of the sort, but I was always in first in this game because the AI doesn't really seem to use their special moves much, so I didn't really get to make much use of these abilities. Most characters seem very close to one another in stats, except for Eggman, who clearly has the worst acceleration of them all by far. If you're playing as him, you get overtaken at the start of every single track. If I had to pick which character you should play, I'd go with either Sonic or Tails. Boosting is always useful in racing games, sort of, I'll get to it. But Tails is also good because, you see, the turning in this game is kind of weird. Trying to turn too hard makes you spin out, and I swear, some of these courses I could not actually deal with the turning. Tails though, you can just jump and it turns on the auto turning for a short while, so you just kind of win. So even though I'm supposed to 100% complete all these games, there isn't really anything tracking your progression on this game, which makes it a bit difficult to prove that I did all of this. So yeah, there are 4 different endings depending on which character you beat the final GP with. I was playing as Eggman when I found out, and I completely lost it when the screen just cut to Eggman making fun of Sonic for losing, which is kind of like if I made fun of LeBron James for losing to me in NBA Jam. Overall though, there isn't a lot to say about this game. It's mostly just a bunch of straightaways. It's a cute game, definitely something that would keep a 90s kid occupied for a while in the backseat of a car, but it's not much more than that. And it kinda had me too bored to really play more after getting the ending on all 4 characters. Which is fine, I mean, I did get a few hours of fun out of this one. Might be a problem, because they did make a sequel. With another 3 GPs that feature a little bit more variety in course themes, Sonic Drift 2 races onto the scene with some minor upgrades, and also came to the West, which definitely helped. The character roster has increased from 4 to 7, now featuring Knuckles, Metal Sonic, and Fang the Sniper. Or Hunter. Whatever his name is, really. Seriously, I need Sonic fans to get into the comments and tell me what his name is, because genuinely, wherever I go, he seems to have a different name. Speaking of his name, originally his name was going to be Knack the Weasel, but with Sonic 3 also being developed at the same time, his name needed to change, as the Japanese would pronounce Knack as Naku, and the new character in Sonic 3, Knuckles, would end up being Knuckles. So why am I talking about Knack instead of Sonic Drift 2? It's because I've kind of already said mostly everything there is to know about Sonic Drift 2 and Sonic Drift 1. The game is practically a straight upgrade. All returning characters retain the same special abilities as before. Knuckles uses Tails' ability, Fang uses a similar ability to Eggman and Amy, and Metal Sonic is a more expensive and maybe slightly better boost. I don't know, trying to be comprehensive about these games is proving to be very difficult here. The gameplay of Sonic Drift 2 has been adjusted in that it seems a little slower and some courses are no longer 3-lap courses, but instead single-segment races, like they introduced in Mario Kart 7. Other additions include that the AI now actually uses their special skills, and they have a significant case of rubber banding, rendering the boost abilities kind of useless, because front-running really only punishes you now as the AI slows down to give you a shot of overtaking them, but then speeds up to overtake you at random intervals. And they go way faster than the boost lets you go. So, if you wanted more Sonic Drift, there you go. Of course, in the West, these were the only Sonic Drift games we got to begin with, and I reckon that, for the most part, people weren't really in the market to play Game Gear games on their consoles back in 2004. Much less right now, if I'm being honest. Very cute piece of gaming in Sonic history, I just wouldn't really recommend playing them today. But if you do want to play them, they are available in Sonic Origins Plus, so if it interests you, I don't know why, but go play them, I guess. But these were probably the simplest of the racing games. Now we get into the weirder ones. This is where the journey to fully complete every Sonic racing game really begins. 2 years after Sonic Drift 2, another Sonic racing game would hit the shelves, this time for the Sega Saturn and in full 3D. I am, of course, talking about Sonic R. That makes me sound like a pirate. Sonic R. This one is still well known to this day for 2 reasons. One, the soundtrack, which is a perfect microcosm of 90s energy that feels completely out of place in the context of the actual game, but it's just so damn good. And 2, it's the only official Sonic racing game to this very day in which Sonic just runs. He's not in a car, he's not skating or hoverboarding, he's just running. And I don't have a problem with the car stuff myself, but I can imagine that for some of Sonic's most normal fans, this was probably cathartic to see. Sonic R was ported to Windows PCs a year later and then subsequently stealth-updated in select countries in 2004, and that is probably a rabbit hole I can go into another time if people would be that interested in, but I highly doubt a lot of people are. And then after all of that, once again ported to the Sonic Gems collection in 2005, which is the version I'll be playing for this video. Sonic R is kind of unique. It's what I will call a freeform racing game, where you can go off-road all you want, and as long as you hit certain checkpoints, it's fine. This sounds a bit familiar now, doesn't it? It largely results in a racing game where players will simply figure out how to ignore as much of a course as realistically possible, and just jump over pretty much everything. And I haven't played Mario Kart World yet, but again, this sounds very familiar, doesn't it? What sets Sonic R apart is that the game only has 5 courses, but 4 out of 5 of these contain 2 sets of secret items that you must collect and win the race in order to unlock something. One of these sets are the Sonic medals. Each of the courses have 5 of these. What I ended up doing was loading up the course, fiddle around without caring about the race, taking notes about where each of the medals are, then doing the race while going out of my way to grab all 5 of them, and then doing the same thing with the Chaos Emeralds that can be found in each of these 4 courses. Which, of course, unlocks Super Sonic. What's nice about the pickups is that it actually really changes how you play the game. Instead of just trying to go fast, you have to think of a path through the stage that hits every collectible you're trying to pick up, which lends a nice strategic element to the single player and creates a very distinct experience from any other racing game I've played. To really show what I mean, strap yourself in and come with me on a journey through each course, starting with Resort Island.
Ready, set, go!
God, what an amazing soundtrack. For this course, you'll want to go up in the first corner, rather than follow the path to find the first medal, then go behind the waterfall to find the second one. The third medal you'll probably collect is way off course, on a little island in the top right of the map. Then, at the next split path, you take the slower left path onto the mountainside for the fourth medal. And finally, with 20 rings, you can open this door on the second lap to get the 5th medal, which I missed on this lap, but I did grab it on the 3rd lap. If you have 50 rings to spare after this, you can also get the Chaos Emerald in this run, which is just behind this door after the bridge. Win this race with all 5 Sonic medals in hand, and you'll do a 1v1 race against Metal Sonic, unlocking him if you win the race. The race itself isn't very difficult, just abuse the fact that the game doesn't really care about you sticking to the path to your advantage to skip time wasters like the loop at the end, and you'll do just fine. Resort Island, being the first level, is obviously on the easier side. But I do like the detail here. The birds are flickies from Sonic 3D Blast, and everything just kind of, I don't know, it fits. It fits the Sonic aesthetic perfectly fine. What I also really enjoyed, there are several variations on the course. I predominantly showed nighttime here, but it will randomly select between variations, most of which don't really change the gameplay too much. But there is the snow version, which lets you run over the ice, completely trivializing an already trivial race even further. So we come to the second course. More like a web of roads or even a roller coaster. It's Radical Supply. Was that Radical Soda? I think I'm gonna need to make sure that window is locked. So, Radical City. Admittedly, this one was a bit difficult for me to wrap my head around. I spent about 5 minutes looking for where the medals were, which was what I was going to do first. Then grab those and do the emeralds. But the result wasn't so great. I forgot where one of the medals was and instead turned this into my emerald run by complete accident. I didn't know where the emeralds were. For the green emerald, it's the 20 ring door near the start of the course by taking the first left. And for the pink emerald, it's the 50 ring door on the yellow path top right of the map. Next, the medal run. On the first lap, take the split and jump over the gap, then follow the road to easily find your first medal. Continue on and go through the barricade to find your second medal, and if you already have 20 rings, you can grab the one behind the closed door here for your third one as well. On the second lap, take the same route as before, except this time you want to go through the first barricade you see. Then on the final lap, take the 20 ring door to grab the 5th medal and win the race. You can pretty easily combine the emerald and medal run if I'm being honest. You're then challenged by the second of the mechanical main cast, Tails Doll, which I think only appears in this game.
Nope.
Though any door you've already opened stays open, giving you an insane shortcut to abuse which Tails Doll just won't use, making the 1v1 against Tails Doll insanely easy. By the end of the race, I was nearly lapping the guy, having to completely memorize the course layout in order to grab the very collectibles that grant you the opportunity to do these 1v1 races. You'd think they'd be a little harder to compensate for that fact, but nope, Tails Doll unlocked. The third course is Regal Ruin. For this one, the medals are out in the open a lot more, so scouting them all didn't take more than a minute or two. However, chaining them together was a separate story. The Chaos Emeralds are very close to the medals this time around, so I decided to try and grab them both in one go. Honestly, I think I made a mistake there. I spent an hour trying to chain a route together and it was very, very tight, but in the end, I got them all. So here's what I did.
Ready, set, go!
On the first lap, go right immediately. Not only is it a huge cut for time, there's a medal and some rings on the way as well. Instead of going up on the ramp, I go up on the right spring to grab medal 2, then follow the path and take the sneaky left here to grab medal 3. I'm a bit low on rings, so I stick to the center path going into lap 2 to grab some of the rings, then jump up on the left side towards both medal 4 and a Chaos Emerald, this one costing a whopping 50 rings. I mess up a bit, but go towards the spring again to grab the 20 ring door containing another Chaos Emerald. But instead of taking the shortcut exit, I go back and take the standard path again. This leads to medal 5, collecting everything by lap 2. In lap 3, I overtake first by simply taking every cut as hard as I can. This collects everything and lets me challenge Egg Robot. Once again, everything remains open and I can simply blitz through by taking the Emerald cut 3 times, granting me an extremely solid victory. I genuinely don't understand why they don't let these NPCs take the cuts as well. Fourth course on the list, Reactive Factory, I did my scouting as usual and managed to find the medals and emeralds. The emeralds, however, are a bit weird on this map. They all show up with a delay after you open their respective doors. So I don't know if I would be able to get the medals and emeralds at the same time. Between the delays and the medals being all over the place, I actually found myself losing quite often, so I figured the first thing I should do is just get the emeralds. One is immediately to the right following the loop, and the other is in a sneaky hidden left corner, the long stretch of yellow on the map. This unlocks Super Sonic, who is basically like regular Sonic, except he shouldn't get submerged in water, but that didn't stop me from getting submerged in water. Now it's time for the medal run, which admittedly was a mess, but hey, as long as it works, right? First lap, get the one on the submarine. At the right side of the map, quickly take the door for the medal, and oh god, I lost so much time here. Second lap, cut into the corner, and wow, this is worse than I remembered. I follow the path, and honestly, I don't know how to properly get to this medal here, so I kinda just grabbed that in reverse and then grabbed the obvious on the way out medal for all 5. Now, I just gotta win, and thankfully Metal Sonic's AI decided to hug the wall, allowing me to zoom past him with supersonic speed. I feel like I only managed to win this one due to Supersonic, but oh well, I earned him fair and square. Then the Metal Knuckles 1v1. You already know how this went. I lapped him and that caused him so much distress, he knucklesed himself into the wall and made a whole circle. And now the final course, Radiant Emerald. However, unlike the other courses, I really don't have much to say about it. It's Rainbow Road with railings. There's 2 doors costing 50 rings each, but there are no more emeralds and no more medals to find. It's kind of like a victory lap. Congratulations, you played 4 whole levels. And, well, that's it. That's Sonic R. Now that I've unlocked everything though, before we end this game, let's talk about the characters and then give you my post-completion feelings on the game. I've been playing Sonic and Super Sonic the entire game, so I think you have a grasp on what he does. He double jumps. Supersonic does the same as Sonic, except he doesn't get submerged in water, except for when he does. I still don't know if this is supposed to happen or not. Metal Sonic doesn't get a double jump and doesn't get submerged in water, though he does get slowed down. What makes him unique is that his speed on the off-road, unless it's water, doesn't change in the slightest. He stays at top speed. Tails can hover, which is way more broken than it initially looks when it comes to regular racing. Tails though kind of hovers by default. He doesn't have a good jump though, but he also doesn't lose speed anywhere. He does feel much worse than everyone else though. Knuckles is very much an all-rounder, with his glide being a worse hover, but he can actually steer, so I feel like he's at least good for beginners. Metal Knuckles, on the other hand, is that plus the ability to hover on water. So after you unlock Metal Knuckles, you'll probably never use Meat Knuckles ever again. Amy, the one character who doesn't really have a counterpart in this game, is in a car. She's very slow, can't jump, and her redeeming abilities are a pretty bad boost and the ability to drive on water. Something basically every unlockable character can do. And sometimes the water is frozen over at random, meaning everyone can run over water, rendering her special ability completely and utterly pointless, even if you agree to not use unlockable characters. Eggman, by the way you unlock Eggman at some point, and Eggman Robot are basically the same character. Can't jump, instead they have a projectile. Eggman can float over water, Eggman Robot cannot, and if you play as him, he's matched up against the latter half of characters in the game, including Supersonic, so you may as well never touch this guy if you've unlocked Supersonic. Although short, I actually did enjoy my time with Sonic R a good bit. Would I recommend it to anyone else? Absolutely not, Jesus Christ, dude. The best bit of the game is definitely the soundtrack, which I'm sure you've heard at least bits and pieces of. I mean, they can't stop referencing these soundtracks in other Sonic games. The thing is, one of the most fun parts of the game is figuring out how to grab all the collectibles in a run and maybe optimizing that. The racing itself is kind of bad. I feel like it doesn't make the game very replayable. At least to me. I know there's a speedrunning community, but speedrunners are the exception, not the rule. Sonic R is a game that's very much what you choose to make of it. It controls fine enough, it has a fun, if not short, gameplay loop, and the music is great. And then, for 9 years, that was it for Sonic racing games. Sega walked out of the console business and started working on porting their old games and working on games beyond Sonic Adventure. But in 2006, one game dropped that would change everything for the Sonic brand. But we're not talking about that game, let's talk about a game earlier that same year. We're of course talking about... I remember the first time I saw this intro. As a young Sonic, well, maybe not yet a full fan like I was of the Zelda and Mario series, definitely an enjoyer of all things Sonic, I was enthralled by the sheer energy this intro animation brought. I love the art style, the character, the designs, the animation. My dad grabbed a copy for my brother and I, and we set out to play just so much split-screen multiplayer. And by God, we sucked at this game. By and large, Sonic Riders is the one game on this list I've played the most of. I played almost every Sonic racing game at least once before I started working on this video, but the sheer amount of hours I have in Sonic Riders over the rest is frankly ridiculous. And still, I don't feel like I've mastered this game, even though it's been out for nearly 20 years. It didn't review very well at the time, but it's gained a cult following over the years and now even has a competitive scene. Shoutouts to the guys working on the tournament edition of the game, but today we'll be looking at vanilla gameplay, the same gameplay we had back in 2006. First thing you see when you load into the main menu, there's normal race and story mode. That's lame, I just want to race. This is about to kick ass for no real reason, isn't it? It's best to do the story mode first, seeing as it unlocks most things, so we might as well move in with that. Starting the Sonic Riders Heroes story, we get a CG cutscene with Team Sonic looking for a Chaos Emerald for no adequately explained reason. That, apparently, is just what Team Sonic does now. Tails is tracking one down with his Dragon Radar, when suddenly the silhouette of a Birdman on a flying skateboard shows up, who just so happens to be the source of the Emerald signal. Sonic gets excited and gives chase on foot, but they zip right past him. which either implies that Sonic isn't really trying, or these boards are actually faster than Sonic. Knuckles jumps in and punches one of their boards, and Tails immediately notices the mark on the boards. Sharp eyes there, buddy. Sonic gives chase on the board, but ultimately loses the showdown, kickstarting a new rivalry between Sonic and the green guy who hasn't introduced him yet. So, Sonic the Green Hedgehog.
Eggman!
We skip ahead to daytime where Eggman has an announcement.
Shadow the Hedgehog, you got a small...
No, not that announcement. A tournament in which you use those floating boards and you have to pay a Chaos Emerald as an entry fee. Sure, that doesn't seem suspicious, but hey, Sonic the Green Hedgehog is in it, so Sonic the Blue Hedgehog is in it too. Cause he's a petty bastard who didn't want to lose. Quick tangent, and I know you can ask yourself a lot of Sonic plots, but where is Eggman getting the money to do all this? He basically ends up taking over the whole city Kaiba Corp style just to host a single race in a tournament that by the very nature of its admission, only 7 people can participate in. That is some frivolous spending right there, and I really need to know who's financing this. Not to mention, it's a sport nobody has ever heard of. Who's gonna watch this? Huh, apparently a lot of people. I don't think I understand competition. First race, the difficulty level for this race is the lowest you'll get in the game, which is good, because the game basically has no tutorial. I mean, it does, but it's a video in the extra menu of the game, and it's pretty bad to boot. Allow me to explain the basics, because there's no way in hell the game will do it for you. On the right side of the screen there's a gauge, and on the top left is a ring counter. When you hold 30 and 60 rings respectively, you'll level up your stats and the gauge, so make sure you pick up rings. The gauge is your air tank, which is basically fuel. You expend your air fuel as you go, but it's also required for jumping, drifting, and a large chunk is used when boosting. You'll often find ramps to jump off of, and holding forwards or backward changes your height and distance. In most cases, this will allow you to hit branching paths on the racetrack. While you're airborne, you can do tricks to replenish your air based on your trick score when you land, but keep in mind that if you land incorrectly, you do not get any air and your speed will suffer for it. Doing tricks and your type special actions are the primary ways to regain your air so you can keep boosting and drifting. Sonic over here is a speed type, so he can grind on rails. If that sounds like a lot to take in, trust me, it kind of is, but it flows together pretty naturally when you do get the hang of it. I neglected to talk about these pit stops that refuel you if you're really out of options to get more fuel, but they stop you dead in your tracks and punish you for using them. It's the game telling you, oh hey, my diagnosis came in. I seem to have chronic skill issue. And with the game explained in the most bare-bones way possible, it's time to break down Metal City.
The race to prove who's the best begins now.
All right, bring it on.
Metal City is the first course in the game, so it's obviously the simplest. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have anything setting it apart either. Start with a funnel into a jump that separates the pack into 2 paths, lower and higher. As a new player, you're most likely to hit the lower path, and you'll find yourself dealing with cars. As you enter the first turn, you'll see a rail. If you play a character marked as a speed-type character such as Sonic, you'll be able to grind it, giving you some air back, and as such, knowing the course means knowing that you'll need to boost on the straight before this turn. If you hit the upper road, you have a much faster turn as it's not nearly as wide, but you won't have as much of an opportunity to regain air. Coming out of the turn, you'll be on the straight again with a flight path. Flying characters like Tails will be able to use their ability here to give you a leg up on your opponent and, like always, an air refill for using your ability. You'll hit a drop you can trick off of for refueling and can take either the left or right side tunnel. The left side is great for speed characters, while the right side, although dangerous for flying characters due to the traffic present, is where both of them and power characters are meant to go. When you get out of the tunnel, you'll see why. Power characters can take a side road which practically refuels their air gauge entirely, while flying characters can take the flying path for a shorter refuel path. Speed characters back on the left path also get a shorter refuel path, and they don't have nearly as arduous a path to go through to get it. Finally, after the long turn, you'll get one more trick ramp with the road selection. If you hold back and charge your jump, you'll land at the top, skipping a QTE area and speeding along into the finish line. The QTE road has no real benefits to it because while during QuickTime events you do regain air, you also regain air for doing tricks, and there's another trick ramp on the top side. This is the skill issue road. And yeah, that's already Metal City. Definitely not your typical starter level, there's not even any green or seaside hills. But I think it's a great introduction to the mechanics of the game. It does, however, ask a lot of the player to take it all in at once, which is probably why Riders gained the stigma of being way too hard when it first released. In the second scene of the story, Amy shows up also having signed on for the competition, meaning that she had a Chaos Emerald? Why? How? Huh? Tails meanwhile exposits what is effectively this game's entire backstory. Basically, the new guys are probably the Babylon rogues from the ancient civilization of, who guessed it, Babylon, who lost their floating island, hey Knuckles probably likes them, because God was pissed off at them. Neat! After one exposition dump,
How can a plank like that just float?
That's easy to explain. According to the Cutter-Joukowski lift theorem, the control surface flow is balanced by the inverse kinetics of the...
Stop! I get it, okay? It just floats, and that's good enough for me.
yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to sit through 2 exposition dumps in a row either. Thanks for that one, Knuckles. Enter Wave the Swallow. Wave inspects the boards, shits on Tails a bit.
Well, I never imagined anyone would enter the race with such a piece of junk.
And then leaves, setting both their rivalry in action, and a little bit of an inferiority complex towards her.
Yeah, how can she just walk in and diss Tails?
I know, and tinkering's all he's really good at, too.
What the hell, Knuckles? This is rude! So Tails gets uncharacteristically pissed off, starting the second race. In this second race, you play as Tails, and like before, have to place top 3 in order to pass through to the next race. This race takes place on the second course of the Heroes Grand Prix, Splash Canyon.
The racers are now getting ready. My best.
Coming out of the starting gate, after the first turn, there's immediately a choice to be made. Speed types can grind on the rail, where flying types can hit a flight ring on the left. However, by this point, there's not too much of a reason to grab these. Everyone can also make the jump on the left to take a straighter path, but on lap 1, don't take any of these paths. Instead, veer far right and you'll find a hidden 100 ring pickup behind one of the waterfalls, instantly bumping you to max stats. The next ramp gives you a route selection. Hold up while jumping to try and land on the higher platform, whereas anything else gets you to the low road and has some barrels to hit and another flight section. The problem with the higher platform is that it leaves you in the QTE for a really long time, which starts you at 150 speed. Boosting at level 3 with most gears puts you at 250 speed, and at level 1 it's still 200. It's much faster, and realistically you should never be starved for air at this point. After the QTE, each type is segmented into their own path. Power gets a quick and dirty shortcut, Flight gets to fly over the wall, and Speed gets the winding road, but with fast rails to refuel as well. Except, this game is really unbalanced, and Flight characters have an even dirtier cheat they can use here, as you can simply break free from the preordained flight path and just fly over the gap too, skipping both the wall and a large portion of the course. The last gap is another route selection. If you hold back, you can land on a forming rainbow, letting you land quicker and go forward faster. And that's the finish line. Splash Canyon is honestly unfair if you're not a flight character and you're playing against someone who knows the game and is a flight character. You may as well give up on winning at that point. I do really like the course though. It's absolutely loaded with options and keeps splitting the racers up only to rejoin them every single time, which is a part I really enjoy about Sonic Riders.
Sorry.
Was that supposed to be some kind of punch?
Nice try, buddy.
Sorry there. It wasn't my fault.
The track then. We'll settle this there.
Looking forward to it.
We will break out of the pack first.
Don't get in my way.
Welcome to Egg Factory. We play as Knuckles this time, meaning that for the most part in this race you'll be able to use the power roads. The first ramp, for once, has nothing special about it, so take it as you go. Then you can jump off the edge. Flight characters on the left have a flight path to take, whereas speed characters have a rail on the right. Power characters get nothing except for like an Eggman robot in their way. Cruising along on the next ramp, there's a route selection. Always hold up. It's always faster, like legitimately always faster. On the next section, flight path to the right, regular racers to the left. Coming out of the narrow pathway, speed racers are expected to go to the right, whereas power racers can get a decently sized shortcut on the left. There's a rail break for speed characters here, but you should not take it. At the same time, there's a secret passageway here for power characters as well, right behind this oddly lit wall, which you should never actually use. There's a 100 ring pickup you can try and go for on the left split path. I suck at getting it, but hey, you can go for it. But also, everyone should go to the left split path. You'll get a shorter QTE section as opposed to the long space you get on the right side, including the QTE. The left section is faster for everyone all the time, there's never a reason to explore the others. And that's the course already. I'm gonna be honest, the fact that the story mode puts Knuckles here feels like a slap in the face. To me, this level is the most fun as a speed character, lots of rails to grind, which feels snappy and rewarding. Knuckles gets to punch a few barrels and a robot, and that's it. What a ripoff. And this is the last and only time you play as Knuckles in the story, by the way. This is the only showcase of power type you get in here.
Sonic! When did you learn those techniques?
Not very impressive for someone of your reputation. You know, I've checked you out, actually. You see, to be the fastest on a gear, you have to become one with the wind. Without wings, well, you might as well kiss the ground and go home.
Apparently, Jet thinks having wings will make you better at hoverboarding. I don't know about that one. And yeah, that's basically the entire scene. Well, that and Tails beating him up over what Wave said earlier. Even though that never came up, so everyone else might just be a bit confused. Aw, Knuckles looks so concerned too. I saw this one frame where everyone except for Tails snaps back to standard face, and it kinda just looks funny to me.
Now, the race is about to begin.
The fourth course we get to is Green Cave. Lots of turns on this one, and you play as Tails this time around. The first jump has no route select, but you immediately get a rail to grind on. This one has a break, but you don't actually need to jump to hit the next one. Just press A as you release from the rail and you'll seamlessly continue to grind. Before the final corner on this road, you'll find a power cut. It's not the fastest cut ever, but it generates great air. Going into the wide open space, you'll find 3 separate pathways, though effectively it's just 2, as there's no real tangible difference between the left and right paths. The middle path is a flight path, which always should be taken. It speeds through the section for free, refuels you, and puts you on a much better path. Coming up, power characters get to smash through a whole bunch of massive grapes, putting you towards the end of the gap, where flight characters get a flight ring, and speed characters get a rail right through the gap. Basically, nobody really needs to go around. Finally, a ramp with a route select. You get an entire extra corner if you don't get the triple web shortcut by holding back. So, hold the stick back as you jump. It's literally always faster. And that is Green Cave. Pretty short explanation, a lot of this level is straights and curves. It's a fast course with a great check for your basic skills.
Now our race has reached its final stage. The remaining competitors are pacing, anxious for the race to begin. Only a few minutes left. Who will win this big event? Sonic, congratulations! I'll be over here cheering you on.
Apparently Amy and all the Babylon rogues not named Jet are out of the race now. I have no idea what the rules on that are really. But it just leaves Sonic, Tails, Knuckles and Jet to race in the 5th and final level for the hero story, taking place in Sand Ruins.
I won't lose now.
This course is exactly what it says on the tin. It starts with sand, ends with ruins. You go through the opening bit towards the ramp. A power type is able to smash the coffin to take a faster middle path. Flight section on the right, rail section here, and you can use the fallen pillar as a ramp to get up high into the ruins. Take your appropriate path, and on the final corner, wind up the arrow, finishing the lap. On the third lap during story mode, the game puts you in a scripted event and moves on into a cutscene.
No! Ah, the dirt suits you so well. Ugh.
Wave blows up a bomb she had snuck onto Sonic's extreme gear and causes him to unfairly lose the race to Jet, who then reveals a cube which, powered by the Chaos Emeralds, revives the ancient floating island of Babylon. Of course, Eggman then yoinks the cube and is off to go get the treasure of Babylon himself, and all 7 of our main characters follow to Babylon Garden.
Tails, Knuckles, we gotta get Eggman.
Tails, anticipating that something might have happened, created a second extreme gear, which, by the way, is a straight upgrade, and Jet provokes Sonic into one final race to catch up with Eggman.
You can't catch up with him. Get out of my way. Is that what you think? Take a look at this. I'll show you what true speed really is. The final level of our story, and one that isn't in the Heroes Grand Prix, it's Babylon Garden. For this course, it starts pretty straightforward with a rail and a half pipe into a split section where all 3 types get their own path. But then the path to absolutely nowhere is shot to pieces and we escape falling down by riding the turbulence of the autonomic planes that shot down the original path in the first place. Then ride the QTE planes to the next section. We can rail grind off the edge for a shortcut, after which there's a flight section that allows you to grab a 100 ring box. Then just one more turn and that makes a lap. A very solid course, honestly. So how does her story end now? Sonic taunts Jet about beating him with wings. Even without wings, I can still fly!
I'm wondering if this made more sense in the original dub. Eggman is about to open the door with the Babylon Cube while holding Amy hostage. And then Sonic just dashes into him. He gives back the Babylon Cube to the rogues, and wouldn't you know it, the consequences of his own actions.
Amy?
The hero's story ends off with Sonic and Amy running circles around Knuckles and Tails. A silly end for a story that feels unfinished. We've really only seen half the story. We actually get a second story mode. This is the other half of the story, seen from the perspective of the Babylon rogues, with alternate variants of each course we've seen so far. While each of these reuses the same level theme and assets, they're all different from one another in some way. You may have noticed I started speeding up a little bit on the course breakdowns in the last few levels. I won't be going super in-depth on all the courses in all the Sonic racing games, because by now I think you've got a good idea of what this game is like, and I'm assuming it's going to be like that for the next few as well. Starting up the Babylon story, we join our anti-heroes. Trying to channel my inner Shadow the Hedgehog and it's not going too well. Getting approached by Eggman. The 3 rogues exposit about the treasure they're looking for, practically right in front of Eggman, who has a proposition. They need the Chaos Emeralds to use the key to Babylon Garden, and he has an idea on how to get the Chaos Emeralds. In exchange, they beat up Sonic.
Yeah, I'm not kidding, that's basically his entire stated motivation. We already know that that's not his real goal at this point, but I find it funny that the Babylon rogues believe this. And so we end up in Night Chase, a race that's supposed to take place during the hero story opening cutscene. Except it doesn't really make a lot of sense that Storm is on his own extreme gear, and Sonic has his own extreme gear already. Night Chase is extremely similar to Metal City. The biggest difference is the early portion of the course, which takes place at a lower level than that of Metal City. The mid to end portion, however, is pretty much exactly the same, but just slightly remixed. This is the Babylon course I like the least. I don't like dealing with the cars in this one, they feel very stuffed together. While I was playing this course, I kept messing up and bumping into things, but I still won, so I guess the difficulty for the stage is set pretty low. The next scene takes place from Wave's perspective when she enters yet another hero scene right after Knuckles' crash out. This is where Wave places the bomb. But amusingly, she actually is impressed by what Tails was able to do in such a short time span, knowing effectively nothing about extreme gear before this. That's pretty much the extent of what she does during this scene, but I do like how it kind of makes her seem like a much nicer person, and I do think the Heroes team eventually realizes this as well.
See ya, shorty. Oh, that girl! Who does she think she is?
Red Canyon is a similar story as Night Chase. It takes place in the exact same location, but two areas are a different portion of the map. The cave at the end is now closed, so the race takes you onto the windmill into a higher up cave mouth. You also start in a cave rather than the water area. Same verse as always in the context of the story modes, just keep boosting and you'll inevitably make a lot of distance between yourself and the others. In the next scene, Storm...
Sorry! Boss, the red dude beat me in the race. He must have cheated, that's it. He must have used some special type of gear.
What? Are you implying that you lost because of my gear? No one can tune a gear the way I can. Accept it, buddy. It's not the board. Your skills just suck.
What? Suck?
Yes, S-U-C-K, suck.
Stop it!
Thank you, Jet. Jet believes Eggman is hiding something from the group, so since Storm is already out of the race, he's sent to investigate into the Ice Factory. Ice Factory has a very similar start to Egg Factory, but after the opening bit, it becomes a completely different course, which I like a lot. What I don't like though is that most of the more unique bits are relegated to a suboptimal route select. Bit of a shame there, to be honest. In the next scene of the story, Jet is just relaxed while Wave is worried about Storm taking way too long. She then proceeds to lecture for a rather long time, which results in this sped up noise. Now, through the power of video editing, I can actually slow down time and find out what she's saying. Except, this is untranslated and it's in Japanese. From what I understand though, these seem to be out of context quotes from other areas in the game that have no real bearing to the situation at hand. And I did ask a Japanese speaking friend of mine and he did confirm that for me.
ごめんなさい。まさかこんな素人みたいなセッティングで参加するなんて。ありがとう。面白いもの見せてもらったわ。またね、おちびちゃん。何言ってるんですか。いらないって言うんだから、もらっときましょう。お宝お宝。ドーム。部屋に入るときはノックぐらいしなさいよ。じゃあ、これが伝説のバビロンガーデンの鍵
？Jet sneaks out to have a bit of fun leading to the hero story cutscene, and the race has nothing to do with any of this, actually. White Cave may as well not be considered the counterpart to Green Cave. It reuses some level ideas, but the course may as well have just been completely unique. It's just a shame it has a lot of autoplay elements, and it feels over rather quickly as a result of that. Storm finally comes back, having taken a page of Eggman's digital diary, his life journal if you will. With Eggman expositing why he wants all of this in the first place, Eggman believes the Babylonian treasure is a way to take over the world, and he wants it for himself. Jet immediately gives up not being interested in weapons, but Wave has the brilliant idea of you can sell weapons for money, which results in this. I can't with these guys, man.
Why'd you do that? I was just having this great daydream.
The race itself takes place in the same slot as the Desert Ruins race, in a different course, Dark Desert. Dark Desert may as well not even be the same level theme as Desert Ruins. This course, aside from sand and ruins, share absolutely nothing. It doesn't even use the Yarrow gimmick at the end. I really like this course. It's easily one of, if not the best one, in the Babylon Cup. The next cutscene takes place at the Exposition TV, which tells you nothing new, and then hard cuts to the other rogues, Tails and Knuckles, about to get attacked by the very same robot Knuckles and Storm decommissioned in the Egg Factory. Nice little bit of continuity with that though. I like how he was repaired enough to function, but not enough to fix his broken eye.
Knuckles, now's not the time to fight. Smart thinking. Let's get out of here.
Sky Road. This stage always feels way too similar to me to the other Babylon stage. Even though its course layout is very different, the reused music and aesthetics really do a number on the uniqueness of this course. And it's extremely short to boot. Not that that really matters, considering this isn't the final race this time around. But still, I don't like Sky Road. After running from the Egg Robo, we once again walk into a Heroes cutscene with Wave's point of view, where Jet still lost to Sonic. While the Hero's story continues playing out in the background, Jet opens the sealed door, with some banging music by the way. Jeez, this is so good. Now that's a sound.
What? Finally, something interesting.
Look, Sonic, the door's closing!
The door starts closing behind the rogues, with the rest of Sonic and friends barely making it in to see the Babylon Guardian, a genie in a bottle.
All right, bring it on.
This course is basically a big oval, and yeah, this is an actual boss fight. You have to hit the genie every lap with a boost attack in order to win. Every time you hit the genie, the ruins are shown to be an illusion. You don't actually have to win the race, just need to beat the Guardian. Though he always stays in front of whoever is in first, and the AI players aren't even trying to attack him, so yeah, good luck on that. Sonic and Jet find the treasure, which is...
Too awestruck by the treasure to notice me, eh?
Eggman is about to shoot them with an actual
Hand over the
gun.
treasure. What's so funny? Hand over the treasure right now!
Okay, catch.
The treasure of Babylon is finally mine! Huh? What is this thing? A piece of cloth? It's amazing. The carpet's rich texture is a sight to behold, and the way it feels is extraordinary. Something such as this could only have been created in Babylon. Undoubtedly, this carpet will be in high demand from all around the world, but what's this? No way. I went to the trouble of holding the World Grand Prix for this? I can't believe I just wasted my time for this piece of junk.
You know, if I was Eggman, I probably still would have tried to sell the damn thing. The carpet turns out to be an extreme gear on its own, and yeah, that's about it. The Babylonians and Sonic team reconcile. Jet and Sonic make a promise to race again, and the teams go their separate ways, with Jet saying,
You may be fastest for now, but I'll be back, Sonic the Hedgehog.
and he will, since the game did get a sequel, but we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Credits roll, and the first part of our completion journey for the original Sonic Riders is finished. But this was the easy part. That was just racing on most of the courses after all. On to the next step then, Both Grand Prix are available. In this mode, you just race the main 5 levels of each story and get a bulky ring reward for winning. Also, for each of these you unlock a new level if you win, though that level is only used in free race and mission mode. These levels are filled to the brim with Sega nostalgia, both old and, at the same time, somewhat new. Sega Carnival sees you race through areas inspired by Samba de Amigo, Billy Hatcher, Nights into Dreams as a QTE, Super Monkey Ball, and finally Crazy Taxi, where the Babylon version, Sega Illusion, has you start with Samba de Amigo with Opa Opas from Fantasy Zone flying around, Nights into Dreams is an actual playable section this time, Into Space Channel 5, and finally ending on Choo Choo Rocket. I absolutely adore these levels, the music just makes me happy. Now it's time for the first major hurdle of my journey to complete every single Sonic racing game. Our first appearance of a mission mode. There are a total of 100 missions to beat in this game, and as a kid I would always try to beat them all and give up about, I'd say halfway through. Some of these are easy enough, others, well, Sonic Riders' mechanics can really test your patience sometimes. Since there are 100 different missions, showing them all would make the video last way too long, and let's be real, this is already going to be way too long to begin with. I've been recording for over an hour now. I'll detail each of the mission types alongside some strategies you can use to maybe, win. Mission Type 1, Trick Challenges. These challenges are all about learning how best to jump and using as many tricks as you can during your jumps in order to earn enough points. One thing you definitely need to keep in mind is that this isn't a race, so take your time and approach it carefully. Figure out where you can squeeze out some extra points, maybe hit the ramp several times. Some of these are pretty tight, while others can be surprisingly loose. You'll see this mission 16 times, I believe, so yeah, you'll get plenty of practice in this one. Mission Type 2, Junk Collection. In these missions, you have to pick up some collectible items referred to as junk. Occasionally, you'll also pick up some other treasure. Degraded extreme gear that need to be repaired with the junk you find. For the most part, these are pretty straightforward, you really just need to follow the line of items to pick up, after all. But for some godforsaken reason, the literal first encounter you'll have with this mission, Metal City 2, is just asinine when it comes to this pickup right here. Getting this flight ring can be ridiculously challenging. Or maybe I just really suck at this one in particular, I don't know. The point is I got stuck here for like half an hour just trying to hit the one ring. It was horrifying. Mission Type 3, Time Trial. I really don't feel like I need to explain this one, but one interesting thing of note here is that there's usually a gimmick, like how Metal City has a lot more cars placed all over the place to mess up your run, requiring you to learn the map with that in mind. But yeah, overall, this is just race to the finish as fast as you can. This just tests your base skills, pretty much. Mission Type 4, Destroy Obstacles. As a power character, you destroy as many obstacles as you can. Usually they tell you a specific ones, just cars or robots, and then you smash them. Yeah. Mission Type 5, Chase. As a power character, chase down the mission target as fast as possible. The easiest mission type because it mainly just involves boosting as hard as you can in order to get there as quickly as you can. Once you hit your target, you kind of just get to stroll to the end. You still need to finish within a certain time limit, but your score has already been set in stone, so just make sure you hit the time limit and you'll be fine. This is easy. Mission Type 6, Air Ride. Probably the second easiest mission type. As a flight character, hit as many flight rings as you can. These missions often end up placing flight rings where there are none, and as a result you're often able to see levels from heights you usually don't hit. It's a very nice change of pace and very fun to see the levels like that, but at the same time these practically play themselves, often requiring minimal steering. So in the end, it's not that difficult. Mission Type 7, Grinding. So take what I just said about the air ride missions and apply it to grinding missions instead. Instead, the challenge is mostly about timing your jumps to go from rail to rail. Easy enough, but can be hard to master. Mission Type 8, Destruction Combo. For this mission, you have to make a destruction combo as fast as you can. This involves newly placed obstacles. A lot of these are as simple as making sure you're boosting to chain 2 separately placed grids of obstacles together. Very similar to chase missions in terms of how to score. Mission Type 9. If this bus goes under 88 miles per hour, it will explode! You're not allowed to go under a certain speed. Effectively, this is a time trial, just with a more punishing caveat to it. Mission Type 10, Air Saving. You have to reach the goal with a certain amount of air left in the tank to pass. Realistically, these are the most boring missions. They're like trick missions, except you can't go fast since you basically aren't allowed to boost. Snore. Mission Type 11, Collect the Rings. I mean, I feel like I can't explain this one any more clearly. Man, just collect rings, that's all there is to it. Grab the circle! Mission Type 12, I choose violence.
Here I come! Here I come! Here I come!
These are the 12 mission types you'll see, though the first 3 mission types make up about half of them on their own. Since for each level, the first 3 missions always follow the same base formula. While not explicitly highly difficult, some outliers aside, getting gold on all of these really does test both your patience and your skill at this game. After a whole day of non-stop doing the missions constantly, instantly ballooning my playtime from 2 to 8 hours, I finally unlocked my reward. 3 characters and a special extreme gear called the Emerald Gear, which allows you to play as the elusive Supersonic. My excitement at this point could not be contained, so I'm going to speak from the heart in this one real quick, okay? Supersonic is the worst reward I could have imagined at this game. Do not bother with the golds, just get the characters by winning the missions and leave while you still can. Supersonic is among the worst characters in the game. Instead of using air, he uses rings, which you don't get nearly as quickly and don't get from doing tricks, meaning you basically can't boost and often have to stick to suboptimal paths to get more rings. Speaking of tricks, remember those junk boards I briefly talked about? It takes grinding out the junk missions a few more times to gather all the materials needed to fully repair them, and they are, in fact, complete utter garbage, as none of them refill their air gauge by doing tricks. A core component of the game is missing and you absolutely feel it. None of these live up to their name. If it wasn't for my sweet baby boy Ai being an unlockable in the mission mode, I would never tell you to bother with this mode. What an utter waste of my time. Sorry about that. After all that is said and done, the 100% completion grind demands 2 more things to do before the game is fully finished. 1, I have to go into the shop to use my accumulated rings to buy every single board. And 2, I have to unlock the last 2 characters. The first step is to count the rings needed, and, well, I am here to tell you about the first truly inhumane grind I had to do for this video. It's not the mission mode, as much as I would love for it to be the mission mode. No, you'll need 51,200 rings to buy every single Sonic Rider's extreme gear, and you can collect 100 rings per race. This leaves you with 2 options. You can play Grand Prix, which gives you a 500 ring bonus every time you end in first place. There's a grinding rate of about 1,000 rings per 15 minutes. Every 4,000 rings takes about an hour, meaning you'll need about 13 hours to finish this grind, although we can remove 1 hour as you can reasonably have about, 5,000 rings by this point. Or you can pick option 2. You can pick one of the stages that has an easy to get 100 ring pickup and set the free race mode to 1 lap. This lets you grab 100 rings every 1.5 minutes or so, but in doing so, you resign yourself to 512 laps of the same course, repeatedly. Of course, subtract about 50 laps with that same 5,000 rings from the other modes we compromised on earlier, meaning we have 462 laps left, which takes about 690 minutes or 11.5 hours of the same lap over and over. But hey, eventually you end up getting all of them, and it's going to be worth it, right? No? The worst part about this grind is that most of these suck. The best board in the game is the literal cheapest one, the 300 rings booster, as the boost increase is completely busted and beats at just about any board in the game. For everyone else, you're better off using something like Darkness, as it uses less air while not being significantly worse in any other aspect, or just the main boards, making this a grind that is only for the completionist and not for literally anyone else. There are some fun options at least, like the Axis board, which lets anyone fly, the grind skates, which lets anyone grind, and the bike that lets everyone be a power character, or the aptly named Omnipotence, which grants every character the ability to do all three, which is admittedly not crazy useful, since the options are often in direct competition with one another. What a waste of my time. Finally, 20 hours for the green robot and 50 hours for the red robot characters. Open a race, leave the game open, come back when you have them. Done. So, Sonic Riders. I love Sonic Riders, man. I loved it as a kid, I still love it to this day. Over the course of this completion challenge, I felt myself still getting better at it. And I think that's impressive. This game has an extremely high skill ceiling, but I think that did end up alienating players a bit at the time. Realistically, my final playtime ended on about 22 hours, but then, since another 28 hours was needed to unlock the last character, yeah. If you can find a copy either for PC, GameCube, Xbox, or PlayStation 2, please give this game a shot. And Sega, please make this game available again in some form. I'd really appreciate that a lot. Anyway, Jet said he would be back. And boy, he was not wrong. Reviewing ever so slightly better than the original Sonic Riders, Zero Gravity dives straight into the post-06 era of Sonic with their new character designs and an increase in the already present futuristic techno vibe that the games ended up getting. Gone are Eggman's cartoony robots, replaced by these guys, and gone is the amazing first impression of that strongly animated opening cutscene. Instead, the game kind of just leads out with the first cutscene of the story mode, which is a rather slow, exposition-driven scene that does nothing to entice or hype up the player. We're off to a bad start here. Story mode is now headlining as the main mode of the game, funneling us to where we need to be immediately. In Sonic Riders 1, story mode was something I honest to goodness really enjoyed. The characters were fun, it was charged with the goofiness of early 2000 Sonic, and Jet was honestly a great rival for Sonic, both of them being cocky speed demons who gloat about being the fastest at one another. So, let's see how Zero Gravity follows it. We start with a stone ring dropping into the Meteor Tech building, presumably from space, making that a pretty ironic name. This appears to activate an army of robots straight out of Star Wars. Hard cut to Team Sonic in their futuristic supercar. Tails found another one of the meteors, and they are on their way to a place called Megalo Station. Unfortunately, the robots are after them and attack while they're in a tunnel building. I have no idea what's going on. They crash into a wall and Sonic starts plummeting to his untimely demise, and a little fun thing here is that both Tails and Knuckles are just flying. Tails because of his tails, which works in 3D, and Knuckles because of his glide ability, I guess, but it kinda looks stupid like this. Sonic accidentally activates a stone's gravity power and starts using it to race around the city. In this first level, we get a bit of a crash course in how this game works. So, I want to say it's effectively the same as Sonic Riders 1, but no. Extreme Gear no longer have a fuel gauge to worry about, and instead we have a gravity point gauge now. This fuels the artifact, allowing us to drift and boost. Tricks from a jump are no longer done by rotating the stick, and instead are just fully based on your jump timing. Abilities are tied to gear and fall, and as such Sonic no longer innately has the ability to grind, requiring it to be unlocked by collecting enough rings and triggering a gear change instead. Similar to the level up mechanic, the boosting is done by holding the boost button and rapidly draining your gravity gauge. It is a bit different though. You can gain extra speed and gravity points by crashing into specific debris, but this basically makes it so that certain areas are effectively designated boost spots. Spoilers for the rest of how I'm gonna feel about Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. I really wanted to like this game. I went into it with an open mind, But with every passing lap, I started feeling more and more like this game doesn't really want me to play it. Instead, it just kind of plays itself. I hope that can become apparent throughout the next few levels. In the second scene, Amy shows up in the jungle area again with the robots chasing her as well. Amy holds one of the special stones, or rather spawns one out of thin air, and they decide to go chase down Mediotech since they're the key to this mystery.
Hey, Sonic, we got company.
Okay, here we go!
Moving us into Level 2 Botanical Kingdom. This course is very twisty, but like before, it has the designated boost area. The biggest thing I can say about this course is that I keep forgetting Tails doesn't have his flying ability until he unlocks it from his gear, causing me to drop down. Also, it was here that I realized that every single returning character in this game reuses a lot of the voice lines from the first Sonic Riders game. Like, they're identical, and it makes this game feel very cheaply made.
All right, bring it on! All right, bring it on!
Don't get in my way. Don't get in my way.
Sonic Riders Zero Budget. The next scene is where the Babylon Rogues show up and tell Amy to hand over the Ark of the Cosmos. That's a name. Sonic and Jet antagonize each other a bit, and yeah, that's about it. We race as Knuckles in the next course, who cannot punch things unless he transforms his gear into a bike. I wish I was joking about this. Simple corns with simple turns and a designated boost spot at the end. I really don't understand how this game exists. I'm not even trying, and I beat Wave by 15 seconds. I don't know what I'm doing. In the cutscene, Sonic and Jet crash into Eggman's office. He's the owner of Mediotech, apparently. I guess that explains how he's so rich. Eggman has apparently been locked out of his computer, and the robots are trying to collect all the Gravity Stones, or Ark of the Cosmos. I'm just going to start interchangeably using those names, I'm sorry. But Amy and Storm are being chased by one of them somewhere else, leading into the next race at Aquatic Capital. Not as Amy, but as Tails, with this mission being a time trial. Though Sonic and Knuckles are also here. I make the mistake of not being able to fly again. That's about all I can really say. At this point, I was just really bored. Another course full of straight roads with low curves and a designated boost spot at the end. This game is like Final Fantasy XIV dungeon design, but with racing game courses. The set pieces are really nice. The game is undoubtedly really pretty in its futuristic cartoony style that blends remarkably well with the Sonic characters. But I genuinely feel like I'm not playing a game. I'm just pressing the buttons. On the final lap, this legitimately culminates into me straight up zoning out and missing the final flight ring when I just needed to slightly nudge my stick to get it. Oh god. Tails realizes that this whole thing won't stop unless they take out the core from the main computer, which, I mean, I could have told you that before. But for now, they have to go to Gigan Rocks, because that's where the Babylon Rogues are.
Nobody's made it back alive yet. We'll be risking our necks.
Yeah!
Same, Sonic. Same. The Gigan Rocks. I'm just going to show you the minimap. I'm sure you can figure out what I have to say about this one. I forgot Knuckles doesn't know how to punch things again. The Gigan Rocks are wrecked, Team Sonic is too late, but Tails finds this game's exposition spot and gets Knuckles to read it for him. Let's go catch up with Eggman now. The Babylon Rogues are waiting for Sonic despite Eggman having stolen the Ark they got. I guess they're not in a hurry.
Where's Eggman?
They call it the Crimson Tower. It's very green.
Well, looks like we gotta storm the place. Oh, huh? You think I was just sitting around here twiddling my thumbs?
You kinda were, dude. Like, you literally were just standing around here. The Crimson Tower, it's quite literally anything but crimson, and you'll never guess what the level design is like. They crash into Eggman, ruining his Eggman land plans. Sonic hands the remaining Arks to Jet and tells him to race him at the Grand Prix. Credits roll. You know, I joked about the hero story being incomplete in Sonic Riders, but, you know, that at least stood on its own. When it comes to the hero story here, I feel like nothing was said, nothing was learned, nothing was gained, but hey, there is the Babylon story, so same shtick, right? Let's continue and figure out what's going on! Nothing. There's nothing going on. You mostly just see every scene from a different perspective with nothing really changing. The end culminates into fighting a black hole on a Mobius strip. However, we don't have the arcs anymore, meaning that we kind of just automatically go forward. You cannot drift or trigger the boost yourself. What really sucks about this is that you can't feasibly do anything about your speed. If the AI decides to overtake you, you may just time out because you cannot pass them on your own accord, which is what happened to me, causing me to have to redo this. The Sonic Riders bosses already aren't the greatest, if I'm being honest, but this one is easily the worst, and that's Sonic Riders Zero Gravity in a nutshell. A game that, while technically fully functional, just feels like a complete waste of time to play. There are plenty of videos breaking down why this game kinda just sucks. All I can say is a screensaver is about as interactive as this game, which is why I personally can't stand it. Which sucks, because I still have to go through the mission mode. It returns, although not explicitly in its own mode this time, and instead sharing the story mode banner. As before, this mostly reuses the same mission structure for each of the missions, and mission 1, 2, 3 for each stage are always the same. Unlike before though, each stage now has 7 missions rather than just 5. Even though there's no third bonus mission board added onto the end of grinding the mission mode, it still comes out to more than 100 missions, meaning there are more to do here than the original. Oh no. As before, I won't go into detail on every individual mission, and instead just give you the breakdown of each mission type. Mission 1, Time Trial. You're given a time to beat, and then the goal is to finish a lap as quickly as possible. Usually you're given either grind, flight, or bike power-ups to be able to go through your respective zones, and yeah, that's it. Just go. This is every mission 1, so you'll be doing this 16 times. But what bothers me about this, what really bothers me about this, is that mission 1 understands that I want to have grind, flight, and bike power-ups at the start of the race. Ah! Mission 2, collect the rings. Yeah, you know how this goes. You collect the specified amount of rings in a single lap. These are pretty simple and by far the easiest. I never filled these a single time. I honestly think these might be very undertuned. They are also extremely helpful though when going towards 100% completion, since your ring counter is uncapped during these stages, and you're often grabbing between 200 and 300 in a single lap. These rings count towards the shop, making the gear grind for the shop a lot faster. Sort of, we'll get to that. Mission 3, Tricks. Like the first game, the goal here is to gain points using tricks, but with this new trick system, it basically boils down to speed and pressing A at the correct time. These absolutely would be some of the hardest missions, if not for the fact that on most levels, you get enough time to abuse a little trick when you can continuously, instantly void yourself out using gravity boost, and then get placed right in front of the ramp, allowing you to gain more points off the same ramp. I abuse this thoroughly in the Babylon missions, since some of those are just too annoying. Mission 4, Speed Action. In Speed Action mission, you have to grind on rails. These are very, very self-explanatory. You know this one's from Sonic Riders 1. Pay close attention, time your jumps correctly, you should never really fail these. Mission 5, Flying Action. In Flying Action, you know how this goes, man. You fly through the flight rings, the same thing as Sonic Riders 1. To be honest, these play themselves even more so than the ones in Sonic Riders 1, so you should really never fail these. Mission 6, Power Action Missions. So, I wanted to make a joke about how this is basically the same thing, but because you have to hit obstacles out of your way, there's a bit of a problem here. The destructive nature of the gravity burst mechanic means you basically cannot drift. These can be a bit trial and error and probably have most of my resets. Mission 7, Gravity Dive Points. In these missions, whenever you're boosting with Gravity Dive, you gain points, so basically you just gotta use as much Gravity Dive as you can. This isn't so much a skill check as it is a routing check, so usually it only took me 2, maybe 3 attempts. Mission 8, Meteor Bursts. In these missions you have to use the gravity dive mechanic to collide with the usual boost debris, but also newly placed signs. Sometimes these levels kind of play themselves, while others, it can be a bit of a hassle to figure it out. They don't tend to take too long. Mission 9, Meteor Control Targets. You have to go through the target rings while using a drift. This is usually not that big of a problem, since most of the time you can press the button right before entering a ring and not have to do so much. Mission, I want to say 10? Is exactly the same as gravity control except with gravity dive. You just use the R button this time. No, really, that's it. It's the same thing utilizing the other gravity mechanic. Mission 11, just a normal race. Yeah, so some of these missions they put in the biggest filler they could for mission mode. You just race. Of course, this is slightly different. It's only one lap, there are no rings, and you usually have your type action unlocked. Again, why do the missions understand that I want to have my type action unlocked? But still, it's just a race. Why is this here? Mission 12, time items. So this is like mission 1, except you have to grab these time items, yes that's what they're called, to add seconds to your clock. You'll often be grabbing these using either flight, grind, or bike. Mission 13. Violence. In these missions, you will be permanently in the attacking power-up. I did not even talk about the items actually in either Sonic Riders 1 or 2, but you really don't need to know. So yeah, you'll be permanently in the attacking power-up and have to hit your opponent several times and reach the goal within the allotted time. I kept failing these until I realized something that messed me up a bit. You don't actually have to win the race, so just hit whoever is in your path until you get enough for a gold rank and leave. Sounds easy enough actually, right? Mission Type 14. Gravity points. In these missions, you have to finish with a certain amount of gravity points in your tank. It's the same thing as air tank missions. It basically boils down to not being allowed to drift or boost, although on the odd occasion, boosting can be useful. Welcome back to my favorite segment, How to Complete Sonic Riders. In today's episode, we'll be looking at Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, my favorite Sonic racing game. In today's game, we'll need 136,269 rings in order to buy everything in the shop. Thank God for ring missions that allow you to grab about 250 every minute. This comes down to 1,000 every 4 minutes, 10,000 every 40 minutes, 545 minutes to get the exact amount of rings you need, or 9 hours and 5 minutes of driving the same road with the same music and the same ring sound. This is by and large the most effective single-player strategy. If you have several local friends willing to grind out Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, you can make this a little bit faster, but normal people will not have the privilege of convincing several local friends to grind out Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. As for characters this time around, there is only one outlier to unlock this time, and it's not based on playtime. No, this is way stupider. What you do is you reset free race over and over until a special robot shows up. Then if you beat it, you unlock it. This doesn't take too long to do, but it really is just resetting over and over until he decides to show up. And that's Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. If you can believe it, it's not the worst Sonic racing game. And not the worst Sonic Riders game. I assume this one has its fans, so I'm sorry if I did not give your favorite Sonic racing game the attention you think it deserves. However, my counterpoint is that this game just was not fun for me, and completing it made it so much worse. Never do this unless you're one of the few people who seem to really enjoy Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. And even then, I wouldn't tell you to do this because you might stop enjoying it. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity is not currently sold in stores, having released on PS2 and Wii, and I hope it never gets released again. I will, however, say that there are fans of Sonic Riders who have tried to make this game more fun than the original version, with Regravitified, a mod that reintroduces proper drifting, ups the game speed a little bit, removes the unlocking requirement and character mechanics such as rail grinding, flying, and power. It's a great effort, and I highly recommend you go check it out, if you're interested in at least trying the courses out.
Now, while this next game isn't technically a racing game, it is still a game where the main gimmick is racing your rival in 1v1 foot races across several platformer levels. So I'm including it, and definitely not regretting it later. Let's have a look at Sonic Rivals. because when else am I going to talk about this game? First, let's break down the content on display here. There's a story mode for each character, the challenge mode for just racing 1v1s against the computer with some additional bonus missions, and the cup circuit mode in which you do the same as challenge mode, except it's a 2 out of 3 set. It's not really that complex. There are 6 zones, each with the standardized 2 acts, and a boss setup that Sonic had been using since Sonic 2. But you heard me, story mode, so let's get to the rundown on that. First, Sonic story. In Sonic Rivals, the plot is that Eggman has turned most, but not all, of Sonic's friends into trading cards. Knuckles is also here, but apparently he also took the Master Emerald once again. Knuckles does a great job at guarding it. So Sonic and Knuckles both want Eggman for the same reason, and they decide to race each other for it? That's odd, but hey, it's Sonic.
This is gonna be awesome!
Once in gameplay, we're in Not Green Hill Zone, racing against Knuckles. While racing, you'll find little logs or what have you in the zones that act as boost points, in which you can do a jump boost or a speed boost depending on which button you press. Aside from that, there's Mario Kart-esque items that, depending on your position, are used offensively or defensively. Now, I don't know if this is a hot take or anything, but the items in Sonic Rivals make the game feel like it goes from an enjoyable side game to some of the most frustrating nonsense available, as they can feel like they never work for you, yet are completely undodgeable when the AI uses it. Finish the Not Green Hill zones, and we get to our first boss fight, a giant mechanical turtle, and Knuckles. How this game handles its boss fights is that both characters will fight the boss, and the one with the most hits on the boss wins the battle. Somehow, I don't think I understand the plot. After Sonic wins against Big Robot Turtle, we run into Silver, our next encounter. In this game, Sonic doesn't know Silver yet because of the whole Sonic 06 story thing, but I won't go into it because at this point in time I don't think the Sonic series itself knew what to do about the Sonic Rush and the Sonic 06 continuities. After going through some ruins, in which I definitely didn't lose to Silver several times, Silver insists that he needs to talk to Eggman, but Sonic just brushes him off and completely ignores the rest of the plot because I guess he just wants to beat up Eggman. One mechanical bird and one Silver fight later, I cannot tell you how much you cannot stand the physics in this game, by the way. Sonic gets zapped into a carnival zone, because of course there's a carnival zone, and finds Shadow, who also seems to be looking for Eggman. And the only logical conclusion he comes up with is to race him. Oh my god, Sonic. This level feels atrocious with plenty of pits to fall into, but after defeating Shadow once, Eggman shows up and brings out Metal Sonic. Neat! No boss for this zone in Sonic's story, by the way. We find Silver again in the ice zone and promise to tell him what we know if he can beat us in the race, but we win, so we don't do that. Something about what Eggman says after the races is odd though. If I defeat you now, there won't be anyone left to get in my way in the present or the future. At which point Silver fully knows what's up, but this is Sonic's story, so the plot point gets unceremoniously dropped. Boss fight, hit the guy 6 times to win. We get Tails back from the future Eggman. Spoilers, I guess. And we run into Knuckles. Sonic antagonizes him a bit, we race Knuckles, yada yada, you know how this goes by this point. And after beating Knuckles once, we get another Metal Sonic race. Apparently a new model with updated data. Big Monkey Robot. This time we don't have to fight our rival, as Metal Sonic isn't actually scored, and we just need to make sure to hit Eggman 6 times within the time limit. Frustrated about Sonic constantly getting in his way, Eggman plans to use his magic camera to turn the entire planet into a picture. And so we enter the final zone, which is not a race against a rival, but instead against the clock. And it's here that I feel like the level design shines a lot better, what with not getting constantly pelted with items. I feel this game would have been a lot better had it just been a standard platform, to be honest. Space Zone is a blast to play without the interference of another rival. And I even caught myself enjoying it. At the end of the zone, we find the final boss, which is basically just a train. Hit the weak spot repeatedly before time runs out and you win. It's not a complex final boss, just hold right, spam X, and you'll eventually win. Sonic saves Amy, and we leave, solving practically nothing in the plot as Sonic just follows Eggman to get away from Amy. And so, credits roll for Sonic Rivals. All in all, a lot of the game is just holding right to win. There's items, like I said, I'm not really good at using them, and they don't really feel required because the game seems to boost whoever's behind anyway. So I usually win by messing with my rivals somewhere before the end. Whatever works. I don't really have much to say about the levels themselves though. They're not really filled with big level gimmicks or anything, and the game kind of drones on and on and on as a result, with no real differences. If you're really into it, I can imagine this game is like a dream come true. Unfortunately for me, it doesn't matter if I'm into it or not, because I have to keep going anyway. I'm going to sum up the other stories a bit faster than I did for Sonic. For Knuckles' story, he came to Onyx Island searching for Eggman and the Master Emerald. He remarked that Onyx Island feels familiar though, and Eggman flat out tells Knuckles that yes, he has the Master Emerald. Knuckles races Sonic for some reason, like before, and away they go. Although it's implied that Knuckles wins this bout, Eggman disappears into light alongside Sonic, it seems. And Shadow chastises Knuckles for getting away. I guess Shadow is here now too. Shadow is trying to find out what Eggman is hiding, but Knuckles butts in and everyone fights. You know, this actually feels somewhat in character. Eggman uses the Master Emerald card and vanishes into light again, finding his way to Silver in Sky Park. Knuckles explains about Eggman's camera, which alerts Silver and causes him to dash away with Knuckles giving chase. Knuckles finds Eggman, who tells him this is Angel Island, and promises to tell him what's going on if he can beat Metal Sonic. That ultimately goes nowhere as Knux runs into Shadow in Crystal Mountain. They definitely have something in common, they both haven't learned anything. The both of them find Eggman, and Knuckles forces Eggman to explain. Onyx Island, the setting of this game, is actually Angel Island from the future. But how? Gotta track Eggman down again. Oh, hey, Knuckles found Sonic and Tails. Eggman tells Knuckles how the Master Emerald vanishes. It turns out that if the Master Emerald is made to disappear in the future, it vanishes across all time itself. Because the Master Emerald is, and I quote, a special space-time continuum item. What the hell? From here, the story pretty much syncs up with that of Sonic. Knuckles gets the Master Emerald card back and somehow uses it to send Onyx Island back into the future where it belongs. The world is saved. Shadow gets a transmission from Eggman as he asks him to come find him by tracking down the signal. He looks around and immediately finds Silver and Eggman. The Eggman denies that he ever sent a transmission signal, and Shadow gets thoroughly confused, not the first time. Silver, the only guy who seems to be in any way level-headed in this game, tries to butt in, but the Sonic cast keeps cutting him off. Now Rouge is the one who's sending a transmission to Shadow. How is Rouge involved? What's going on? I don't know. Let's antagonize Knuckles. Eggman and Shadow talk to absolutely no avail again, another Rouge transmission that gets cut off before anything is really revealed. Turns out Rouge is trapped in one of the cards as well, and Shadow is challenged to another Metal Sonic duel. Whoop-de-doo, every single story mode plays the exact same, man, I'm tired. Shadow eventually finds out that Eggman also has an Eggman card? Interesting. Shadow and Silver convene and they theorize the Eggman isn't the real Eggman, until of course they don't work together because this is Sonic Rivals and nothing makes sense. The grand review, Eggman Nega, as in negative. From the future, a descendant of Eggman. I'm pretty sure Sonic Rush just doesn't get to be canon anymore. Eggman Nega is trying to change the future for some reason, but getting pissed off so often just causes him to try and destroy it all. Shadow does manage to save the real Eggman, and like the Sonic and Knuckles story, Silver and Shadow team up with Eggman to get to Meteor Base and stop Eggman Nega. At this point, once again, all the stories kind of convene together. Nega is here to try and change his destiny by removing Dr. Eggman from the timelines. Because by removing Dr. Eggman from the timeline, he'll erase his failures and everyone in the future will totally think he's great. No, I'm not making this up. That's the actual reasoning here. Shadow saves Rouge, thereby causing Eggman Nega's plan to fail, I guess, and the credits roll as Shadow does not want to go card hunting. The end. And finally, Silver's story, though at this point there's not much left to talk about since it kind of just combines all Silver's appearances through the other stories. Basically, Silver is here from the future to chase down Eggman Nega and avoid timeline altering by bringing him back to the future where he belongs.
Nega loses control in the end and is turned into a card, making it very easy for Silver to bring him back to the future. And that's all the stories. Canonically, this is the second time the present Sonic characters meet Silver, but it's the first time they'll actually remember it. Completing all the stories also unlocks Metal Sonic. So now all that's left to do is to raise ad nauseum in the challenges and the cups to get everything. I'll spare you the details, it's basically a random card grind. So to get everything, you have to play the same story mode 4 times, every level at least 1 more time for the challenges in all of the 3 difficulties, though realistically you'll probably do each one at least 2 more times, and then you just play for hours until you get all the cards you're missing. It's tied to RNG, so you just play and play and play and play and play and play. But hey, it ends eventually, and from then on, it's done and you never have to play Sonic Rivals ever again.
They made a second one. What do you mean they made a second one?
Sonic Rivals 2!
I think I threw up in my mouth a little. Sonic Rivals 2 streamlines things a little bit. Gone are the RNG cards. This time each card represents a specific challenge to beat. There are 150 of these, and with no more RNG, we thankfully don't need to worry about these too much. Most of these are just story, S-ranks, milestones and the like. Basically no need to worry about it too much. However, this time they make you play the story mode 8 times to get the full thing. I just finished doing that for 4 stories in Sonic Rivals 1. Let's just cut to the chase. Eggman Nega is back. Some of the characters know he's Eggman Nega, some don't. Sonic's deal this time is that he's looking for missing Chow. Knuckles is still looking for the Master Emerald. Shadow is doing the same I'm mysterious and working with Eggman shtick as before, now using Metal Sonic as a communicator. And Silver and Espio are there to actually do the plot since it's centered around Eggman Nega from the future again. Eggman tells Shadow separately that Eggman Nega stole some of Gerald's research into something called the Ifrit, and he wants to release it into the world. Eggman Nega does end up trying to call forth the Ifrit's resurrection using Metal Sonic 3.0, who is defeated by Silver, while on the other side the Ifrit is still partially resurrected, but taken care of by Sonic and Tails or Knuckles and Rouge. I apologize if I missed something, but I believe my brain turned into mush after going through the story mode 8 separate times, as you do each story twice with a different character, despite the fact that both characters in each duo are played in the stories for each of these characters anyway. Holy padding, Jesus! Unlike Rivals 1, aside from the card grind, there's no specific challenges to each level, so after finishing each cup, all that's left to do is collect every card. One of the mechanics for this is hunting Chow, which is done in free run mode, where you just get to stroll through the levels at your own pace. I recommend Tails, his flight ability is useful to get to them. In both Rivals 1 and Rivals 2, every character has their own ability. In the first game, these are triggered by finding the star power item, whereas in the second game you have a gauge that fills up as you collect rings. Sonic gets a boost, Knuckles gets something, I genuinely never figured out what this does. Shadow gets Chaos Control, which slows down your opponent, and Silver gets to mess with your opponent's controls. As for the characters added in Rivals 2, Tails gets to fly, Espio becomes invisible, Rouge gets bats to throw at your rival, and Metal Sonic just cheats and uses whatever your rival has. Unlike Rivals 1, the story mode incorporates rival boss battles, which, I mean, I just kept pressing X until I won. Gonna be fully honest, I 100%ed both of these games and I still don't know how to play them. Ring battles, in which you just get more rings than your rival, and ring collection runs, in which you collect rings in a regular level on your own. Ha. And that's honestly everything I have to say about Sonic Rivals 2. I had to set up another instance of the game to get the multiplayer achievements, because they're tied to cards, otherwise I probably could have skipped those. All in all, these were probably fine to play on the PSP back in the day. I don't think they hold up very well. It's best to leave these in the past, or just play Sonic Rush. No matter how much people try to convince you that these games were great. They're fine, sure, but they're not great. After Rivals 2, Sonic Racing laid dormant for a few years. But in the meantime, Sonic was trying out the Mario thing of making party games. Developed by Sumo Digital, 2008 saw the release of Sega All-Stars Tennis, a tennis game featuring some of the Sonic cast playing tennis with more Sega characters that time forgot. But this is a Sonic racing video, so we get to skip to the next game in this series of games developed by Sumo Digital, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. I feel like they realized it would sell better if they named it after Sonic first and foremost.
Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing!
So, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. First impressions, do not buy this on Steam. Just don't. Don't do it. My recording for this game is a bit scarce because I can't easily record off my Steam Deck, and it ended up being the only way I could reasonably play this game. Completion-wise, this game has 4 sets of challenges to complete, starting with beating every Grand Prix coming in first. That one's pretty natural and honestly painless. The game is intuitive enough that I set my first go-around to expert mode and won just fine. Years of playing Mario Kart finally paying off. In the Grand Prix mode, you go across 6 cups of 4 courses each for a total of 24 courses, based off of Sega's Sonic, Duh, Billy Hatcher, which I'm sure I'll make some videos about at some point, Samba de Amigo, Jet Set Radio Future, Super Monkey Ball, and The House of the Dead, which is curiously renamed to Curian Mansion, the setting of the first House of the Dead game. And with all the graphics being turned far more cartoonish than they originally were, which there's a reason for that. It turns out that this game's Curian Mansion is not based on The House of the Dead. It's actually based on The House of the Dead EX, a spin-off light gun minigame collection for arcades, in which you play as 2 zombies, Zobio and Zobiko, who are in love and trying to escape from captivity. Zobio and Zobiko are actually playable in this game, but as far as representation goes, this is probably the single most niche inclusion of every single character in this game. Despite coming out in 2010, the game seems to cap itself around 2003, 2004, I want to say. Most of the sound effects and music for the Sonic series, for example, are from Sonic Heroes at best, and the reference and locations are all, well, old. I'm not gonna lie, the refusal to acknowledge anything after Heroes is kind of weird, though I guess after 06 I'd be remiss to say I don't understand it. Sonic seemed to be kind of ashamed of itself for the latter half of the 2000s, even if the latter half wasn't nearly as bad as the midway point. But with 6 themes set across 24 courses, there's a good bit of scenic variety, even if it does tend to reuse the assets. Plus, I could only get the game to run proper in low quality model mode. So the fact that the game looks as good as it does even despite that is honestly impressive. Gameplay is very, very Mario Kart. Drifting gives you up to 3 levels of boost, it all drives wonderfully, bikes get to do wheelies for boost, and tricking in the air gives you more boost as well. Items are very card-coded as well, red missiles homing, green ones not, landmines are to place behind you, speed shoes are a boost that also breaks through obstacles. If you played literally any kart racer before, you know all the tricks of the trade and can slot in here just fine. I don't say this is a bad thing either. The fact that this game works differently to its contemporaries on a balance and racing level, but still slots in this well, is a testament to how well it's designed, if not a bit copied over at times. But if it looks nice, sounds nice, and plays nice, who am I to argue, really? It's a kart racer, not the last of Curian Mansion. Mission mode returns again, this time with only 64 missions to its name, which at this point, I am very grateful for. Race missions take up the majority of the mission mode here, with rival race, knockout race, and Grand Prix missions, all sort of just variations on the same thing. Though with rival race, you're judged on distance away from your rival, whereas with the others, you kinda just need to come in first. Grand Prix missions take you through a set of levels that aren't normally connected by Grand Prix, and in knockout, the game will eliminate the last place racer when the clock runs. Drift missions are fairly straightforward, and yeah, I know the irony of that statement. You just kinda gotta drift for as long as you can. Every drift counts for score. Try and spend more time in a drift rather than an outside one, and you'll be golden. There's 7 of these. Hit contest missions are what I spent quite a bit of time on. I'm simply not good at the item game, and there's 7 of these. They're quite simple. You're assigned a target and you use whatever items you're provided with to hit as many of these as you can. With only 4 boost missions, I'm happy to say that if you're good at the racing bit of the game, you'll likely be fine here. All you really need to do is maximize your boost time, which you should be doing in the main game anyway. So the skill definitely carries over. Battle Race. It's not quite a race, instead it's more like balloon battle mode. Your rival has 6 lives, deplete them all to win with a AAA ranking. The only exception to this is Mission 23, in which you simply need to score as many points as you can. There's 5 of these missions. Collect missions. You collect as many rings or whatever object decided for that mission as you can within the time limit. None of these really gave me a lot of trouble, there tends to be just enough time. There are 6 of these. Time gates. Drive through every gate. Sometimes there's red gauge which subtract time, and for most missions it's relatively straightforward. You just gotta race well while driving through gates. And then there's Mission 42, which is technically not a time gate but the only score gate in the game. But even though the concept is the same, I'm fairly certain that this one in particular was conceived by Satan himself. So hey, if you're struggling with this one, here's what I did. No boost start, instead just drive left, get to 2 gates here, then do the ramp jump with just enough momentum to just about miss the bridge and hit the 2 gates. Bumping is fine as long as you're tricked, since it usually keeps you straight if you're tricked. I then drive to the other side and do the same thing. You can see I made the bump here, but it recovers nicely. Take the left side, drive over the bridge, and instead of turning, drive straight off into the 50 and 10 point rings off to the side. This is tricky, I've failed here plenty of times. I recover towards the right, back on the bridge, I do the same maneuver, but this time I have to recover to the left. This leaves me 10 seconds to grab 20 more points, which are conveniently located on the ramp up to the bridge here, and clearing the mission with the highest AAA ranking. There's 8 time gate missions, including the score gate one in this number. Finally, the avoid mission. Don't hit any of the pots to win, there's only one of these. After mission mode, there's a whole bunch of challenges, including beating every staff ghost in time trials, again a test of your racing prowess. But with a twist, only your best lap gets counted. This makes lap 1 a practice run, and every subsequent run is a contender for a point. The staff ghosts are easy enough, but there's also a sumo ghost, which is a secondary bonus staff ghost. These usually still leave a few seconds room for error. The sumo ghosts are optional, the regular ghosts, the staff ghosts are not. I still did all of them anyway, because honestly, I quite enjoyed the way time trials are set up in this game. I will learn to hate this style of time trial in due time. Just trust me on this. The rest of the challenges on the list are often miscellaneous challenges, filled to the brim with Sega references and of course the dreaded playtime requirement in the form of miles this time. Though this time it really wasn't all that bad. Miles also unlock items in the shop like music, characters and even some courses for free play. To be honest, you'll get these in no time, so I didn't need to have a time-based crash out this time around. Aside from the crashing issues on PC, which caused me a lot of grief in recording the footage necessary for the video, and now as I'm recording this, I'm realizing that I'd have none of these issues if I just emulated the Wii version or something. I actually had a lot of fun with this one. A good, clean, straightforward racing game that, without the Mission 42 from hell, was overall a well-balanced experience. 100% completing this game only cost me about 20 hours, 10% of which was spent on Mission 42. It was that bad! I still don't even know who the Bonanza brothers even are, and at this point I'm not gonna Google it to find out. They are just the guys from Mission 42 for me. I cannot believe the day is finally here. The day I finally play Sonic Free Riders, sort of. Unfortunately for it, Sonic Free Riders was a Kinect-based game, and it didn't work very well. These days, however, thanks to the efforts of very dedicated Sonic fans, a no Kinect patch was eventually born, allowing you to experience this game with an actual functional controller. But you shouldn't want to. Like Sonic Riders Zero Gravity before it, Sonic Free Riders couples its mission mode with its story mode, except this time the story simply takes you through each mission rather than simple racing most of the time, not unlike how later Sonic racing games end up handling this. Weirdly enough, the story is told through PNGs under a really bad looking TV filter. King Doc, who is not Eggman, is holding yet another tournament and is offering both money and a pile of treasure, which leads Team Heroes Babylon, Rose and Dark to the races. Team Heroes is the usual Sonic team, Sonic, Tails and Knuckles. Team Babylon is the Babylon Rogues from the previous Riders games, but Team Rose and Team Dark are a little different from their Heroes counterparts. Rose having replaced Big for Vector and Dark having replaced Omega for a generic Eggman robot. In each of their stories, the team wins the championship, unlocking a final story in which the Eggman robot reveals themselves to be, and this is the only spoiler warning you're gonna get, Metal Sonic. It's not a very complex story. And speaking of not very complex, the Kinect, was the Kinect. Gameplay for free riders is pretty simple in theory, but does have some meat to it. While the maps certainly look graphically impressive for 2010, the courses themselves are often made with as little turns as possible, and feature a heavy dose of auto-steering to get you straighted out. Every board has 2 customization slots, and only one is in use during each stance. Sometimes it feels like you can only easily steer to one side or the other, depending on your stance, so you end up having to swap around to steer a bit. I didn't notice at the time, and I was very confused why I couldn't turn right, or I couldn't grind on rails. There's some other unique mechanics, such as holding out your arms to grab items on otherwise inaccessible areas, swimming sections, and things such as balancing while you're on a grind rail. Just really quickly, Mission Breakdown, Speed Showdown, which is just a race, though it's just one lap, and it can be a little unforgiving because of that, but hey, you win, you S-rank. Ring grab challenges, during these you have to grab as many rings as you can, pretty much like the zero gravity one, and sticking your arms out will help tremendously for this. Grind challenges, just like the Riders games before this, use the grind mechanic and jump between rails. Air Trick Star, same as before, tricks in this game are just like those of Zero Gravity, and yeah, I'm just gonna skip the rest. Speed Limit Challenge is the same as the Speed Limit Challenge in Riders, Power Skill Challenge is the same as in Riders, and Rival Duels are just 1v1 races. I'm gonna be really blunt with this, I'm just gonna speed through the rest here. The game is boring. I never found myself getting invested in any of the races, in any of the unique mechanics, so I kind of just did the missions, completed the thing, and moved on. On the whole, it's nothing we haven't seen before, except this time with the motion control gimmick, which I didn't get to use, and from what I can gather, is very finicky to begin with. Finishing it doesn't take too long, it's 43 missions and a small ring grind. I'm really sorry if you expected me to say more about this game. I just don't have anything. There's nothing here. It's making my head hurt, and I think I need to go lie down. Welcome back to Sonic Racing, all of them. I'm still recovering from Sonic Free Riders, but at least I'm back in the soft embrace of Sumo Digital's weird all-star racing cast. There's been some notable changes around here. Gone are some of the more obscure picks like Akira and the Bonanza brothers. My sweet chicken boy, Billy Hatcher, unfortunately also got the boot, despite the game still having a course based on him. And in their place, we've gotten quite some wild contenders, such as Football Manager, Shogun, and Ralph from Wreck-It Ralph. What the fuck? We've also got an entirely new game structure this time around, as mission mode is replaced with World Tour mode and is also no longer an optional thing. Now, almost all characters are locked behind World Tour, but we're not starting here. No. The first thing on my list is to complete Grand Prix a total of 10 times in order to unlock Expert mode. Regardless of whether you fully go through World Tour for it or do Grand Prix, Expert mode is an unlockable mode and will unlock for both. I simply choose to do the Grand Prix route because it will make my process a little simpler down the line. The first thing I noticed when playing Sonic Transformed is that the control feels a lot heavier in this game, which isn't a bad thing. Honestly, it's quite the opposite. I feel much more in control in this game than I ever felt with Sega All-Stars Racing, and you know how much I praise that game. There are 5 Grand Prix to beat in this game, once again taking inspiration from plenty of Sega games: Sonic, Samba de Amigo, Monkey Ball, Billy Hatcher, House of the Dead, still named Kurian Mansion, and Jet Set Radio are all still represented and joined by representation from Afterburner, Panzer Dragoon, Shinobi, Skies of Arcadia, Golden Axe, Burning Rangers, and Outrun. A lot more diversity in the course teams this time around. 17 out of 21 courses are new, whereas the Classic Cup takes 4 courses from the previous game in the series. Aside from graphically, the Classic Cup courses are not reworked, so they don't benefit from this game's main gimmick, the transformed gimmick. The courses in this game often don't have the same laps. More often than not, you'll be taken to the skies or cruising in boat style on different laps, keeping things fresh. Plenty of courses take you through at least 2 or 3 different styles, sometimes even in the same lap, as is the case with Adder's Lair, which sees you drive all 3 in a single lap. This definitely helps keep the game very fresh, at least for a while. The Grand Prix in this game definitely feels notable. Although it's a race with cheating AI, seriously, it's really bad, and the hate the game gets for how bad it gets is at least somewhat justified. Something I genuinely enjoy about the Grand Prix mode is that one mediocre or bad placement does not necessarily kill the run. Oftentimes, the AI are pretty inconsistent in their placing as well. Sometimes they barely even manage to hit 30 out of 40 points, even if you're not consistently in first place. And this is good, because winning against this AI can be a bit of a problem. It's very refreshing as a longtime Mario Kart player. Speaking of which, the racing itself has also felt very refreshing. A lot of the items are available in any placement, including first. There are no blue shells, instead a bee swarm that is dodgeable most of the time and is pretty useless during flight sections, unfortunately. There's a mechanic to dodge this game's equivalent to a red shell by doing a drift boost at the right timing. Proper defensive items that your opponent wants to avoid playing into, a risk-reward boost item. The list goes on, but the item list is genuinely one of the single most fun item sets I've ever seen in a kart racing game like this. However, this does have the adverse effect of items not seeming all that helpful. A lot of them can be avoided, and so playing against very skilled players, anything not a personal boost may as well not really exist. Regardless, place on the podium 5 times and you'll unlock Mirror Grand Prix, which takes you through the 5 Grand Prix you've already done, but mirrored. Do these and Expert Mode is yours. Next up, World Tour. World Tour is honestly a great replacement for Mission Mode, since it really is just a reskinned Mission Mode. However, instead of the missions being unlocked one by one and numbered, you instead go through a chart of missions. This means you can theoretically skip some. Not me, I have to do all of them. And of course, a new mission mode with new mission types means another new mission breakdown.
Are you tired of these yet? Because I sure am.
Race!
Come on, man. We made it this far together. You don't need me to explain how a race works.
Drift Challenge!
In drift challenges, you have a limited amount of time to get to the goal. Between every checkpoint is a drift line, drift on this, and you'll gain extra time to get to the goal. Effectively, the goal here is to use the drift lines to get enough time to get to the finish line.
Versus!
A knockout race against several characters in a 1v1 setting. And versus, falling behind too far or pulling ahead too far results in an instant win or loss. Otherwise, the winner is whoever was ahead when the time runs out. There's no loading screen in between the racers, the next one spawns during a short cutscene, after which you immediately continue on the same course you were on. What's fun about this is you can bring an item to the next racer and immediately bonk them over the head with it, allowing you to get a head start when making these events maybe a bit too easy.
Boost Challenge!
Whenever you're boosting, the clock stops. The trick is basically to boost as much and as long as you can. Get to the finish line before time runs out and the win is yours.
Ring Race!
A flying challenge. Fly through all the rings before time runs out to win. A simple concept, really.
Battle Race!
In Battle Race, a new layer of the race is added. Not only do you have to try and reach first place, but you also have to try and survive as you only have 3 lives. Your opponents also only have 3 lives. The race instantly ends if you're the sole survivor, so there's a good chance you're seeking their deaths over an actual race win.
Sprint!
This is a time trial. I don't think I need to explain that.
Pursuit!
This is one of the weirdest events to me. There's a tank in front of you and you have to shoot it down. You have an HP gauge and you can't get hit too often or you lose. But there also doesn't seem to be a time limit, so you can just kind of take your time and dodge everything. I don't think I get it.
Boost Race!
This is a race without items. That's it. Win with nothing but speed and skill.
Traffic Attack!
In Traffic Attack, the road is filled to the brim with cars, and more cars. Some green, some yellow, and some are blue. You also have to hit a certain amount of checkpoints, lines between some pairs of cars, which also adds some time to your timer. If time runs out, you lose. If you hit enough checkpoints before the timer runs out, you win. It's a simple but effective concept. Now for the missions, none of these pose a massive threat to your completion, although some will definitely test your mettle more than others. What's more, the further you go, the longer and more difficult some of these missions tend to get. My biggest problem was probably one of the later traffic attacks. The blue cars can kiss my butt. But it's all child's play compared to the most sadistic thing I've ever seen developed into a racing game. The extra time trials for this game are quite frankly utterly ridiculous. For some ungodly, asinine reason, these are some of the most tight races I've seen in the entirety of this video. Nothing genuinely even comes close to the amount of effort expended in order to get the time trials done. Twice! Over the course of 3 days in which I played for a legitimate 10 hours a day, I forced myself to go from a humble racer to a master of the time trials. An absolute gauntlet in which I rarely put the controller down. And if I did, I'd continue playing on the Steam Deck. There are times to beat here that feel like trying to outpace a speedrunner, and as someone who admittedly doesn't feel like they're super good at these games, hearing how other people have suffered to get through these, I feel like I got off lightly with just the 30-ish hours spent on it. Going through them, you learn to appreciate the divine words, "You're faster than sumo!" I genuinely hurt my hands doing this, but I never stopped. I couldn't. I had to beat these. Twice! You have to do it mirrored as well! Technically, it's not required to do it twice for the award, but for a proper completed save file? Yeah, do the mirror ones as well. Dear God, the worst of these were definitely Blizzard Castle, in which I couldn't quite get into the corner right, and Adder's Lair, in which the water physics kept messing me up. Anything with water physics was pretty much a no-no for me, but Adder's Lair in particular got so bad until I finally figured out how to enter the water without my boat going all over the place. It got a lot better after that. I've heard stories of Roulette Road, but that one wasn't too much issue for me with Super Speed Sonic. It mostly just came down to a cornering check. These time trials genuinely ask you to master the game to a degree I never even considered. It sucked. It sucked really badly. And yet, I can kind of appreciate how thoroughly it made me learn the game. I can appreciate how insanely difficult it was to complete. However, now we get to the worst part of the grind, because it does get worse! Now we get to the challenges in the sticker book. Now, as a rule, I don't consider achievements as part of 100% completion, as it's not tracked in the game. Unfortunately, like the All-Stars challenges before this, these do get tracked in the game, meaning I have to do them. Some of these require online ranked matchmaking, others require a certain amount of local players. All of them test your patience in ways. There's Billy Catcher, which requires you to catch 3 weapons with a glove during one race. The problem there is getting the glove is entirely random, having someone shoot into your glove even more so. With more controllers, however, you can at least cheese this by camping at a set of item boxes. The same goes for Sega Swirl, in which you need to be flipped by a twister for 10 seconds in one race. House Party of the Dead and Team Sonic are both evil, as they're required to have 3 local friends play with you, and Team Sonic even requires a top 4 finish with all 4 local players. To get this, I had to invite some friends onto my PC using Steam Remote Play together. But there was a problem. One of us was from America, while the rest of us are European, causing a lot of input delay for him. To solve this, we ended up trying to keep him in front while the rest of us formed an anti-CPU shield.
Where is he?
Right there. Locked on target.
Right. Here we go. I'm gonna...
Locked on target.
Locked on target. Come on. Oh no.
Caught it. But I hit him with a missile instead.
Nice.
We got it!
Do we get it?
Did we do it?
Yeah!
This one was really rough to get, and shoutouts to my friends Ash and Dust, Mitch and Astral for helping me with this one. Genuinely, I don't know how I would have done this without you. Next, all the achievements that had to be done in matchmaking, on which the wording is not useful in the slightest. And also, the servers are kind of dead, which admittedly was a blessing in disguise, seeing as I was able to use 2 clients to do most of these by myself. There's also an achievement for winning 50 matchmaking events. Yep, I just set up 2 clients and won against myself 50 times, and I'm only somewhat ashamed. And that was the entire journey for Sonic Racing Transformed. I spent like, 50 hours in a few days just to get this game out of the way, and the most insane part is I'm not even really sick of it. As repetitive as some of the achievement grinding could get, as horrifyingly awful as some of the time trials got, as utterly exhausted as this game made me feel. A few days after I completed it, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to play a bit, and I said yes. I had a good time. The racing here is just that good, that I didn't burn out despite dozens of hours in such a short time frame. I do not recommend completing this one. Play through all the content if you want, but the online achievements render this game nearly incompletable. But I do genuinely believe that this game is one of the best kart racers of all time, even if it was a bit buggy at times. Team Sonic Racing! As of right now, the most recent Sonic Racing game to be released. Many people found Team Sonic Racing to be a disappointment. Some even went out of their way to warn me. I've had this game for a while on Steam, probably came in some bundle or something. But after Transformed utterly exhausted me, I peeked inside and found you can play the story mode together. So I played it with my girlfriend, and she decided to join me, even though she did warn me she would drag me down, as she put it, but I didn't care. I figured the team aspect would end up being really fun regardless. And I was right! Team Sonic Racing as a multiplayer game is easily some of the most fun I've had in this particular marathon. No longer was it about racing individual cars, now there was a whole new dimension. There's the slingshot mechanic where you drive in the tail of the front runner of your team for a speed boost, the skim boost where you narrowly pass each other to give each other a nice boost, the item trading, which was actually in Sonic Racing Transform, even though I never really ended up mentioning it since it only shows up in World Tour multiplayer, and of course the scoring system, making it so that even if one person places first, it doesn't matter if the other 2 racers place 11th and 12th. That last part, however, is both a blessing and a curse. What makes for a great multiplayer experience turns into a pretty abysmal single-player one. Some world events become hope the AI doesn't screw it up in order to get the highest ranking, or even the clear, and overall you don't really end up using the team aspect much. There is, after all, no communicating with the computer player, they kind of just do whatever. Whereas with multiple players, you can coordinate paths, trade items to players who can use it better, and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of the Triforce Heroes of Sonic Racing games in a sense. If you play with close friends, you'll likely have an amazing time, and the actual game design behind it will shine all the brighter. But play it by yourself with just the AI, and you'll end up probably being a little bored and frustrated. Team Adventure is the main mode of the game, basically World Tour once again, and once again can be played together, though only up to 3 players at a time now, since the team is only 3 players. And it substitutes both a story mode and a mission mode this time around. This new Tanuki character, the Donpa, hosts a race and invites a large portion of the Sonic cast, including Silver and Blaze from the future somehow, to test out his new cars. You start out with just Team Sonic, but as you continue the chapters, you get access to 3 more teams: Team Amy, Team Vector, and Team Shadow, I guess. Team Dark. 3 more characters are playable in Eggman, Metal Sonic, and Zavok. It's a much smaller cast of characters this time around, and it feels like plenty of obvious character picks, such as Cream and Espio, are strangely just missing from the roster. The game very clearly takes inspiration from Sonic Heroes for its teams. Team Sonic and Team Dark are complete copies, even bringing back Omega, yet Amy's team has Omochao on it, and Vector hangs out with Silver and Blaze now. I know this is a weird hill to die on, but I just feel like this doesn't make a lot of sense. World Tour is 7 chapters long, and since it once again substitutes the mission mode, you already know what's going to happen. That's right, the mission breakdown once again. Race. This is a race on the team race rules. Oftentimes the 3 challenges are the same. Win as a team, win as an individual, and a third one. Under team rules, everyone is scored individually upon placement, and the final score of the 3 team members added up is what determines your team placement. Early on, these are effectively free wins. There's only 6 racers in chapter 1, and placing in first effectively carries the entire team. But as more races are added in later chapters, it becomes important for the other team members to do well. This is obviously fine in multiplayer, but it can be a little annoying because the AI just doesn't want to play well. And you're stuck redoing it over and over until it finally decides you're allowed to win. The most you can do as a front-running player in an AI team is keep throwing them your items to charge your team ultimate. A boost that you can use even in first and is given to everyone on your team. Grand Prix, 4 races in a row, often accompanied by a key challenge that I'm not sure means one specific person needs to be first, or at least one person on your team needs to be first. I was usually the one in first, having played every Sonic racing game to 100% completion before this, probably had something to do with that. There's one massive issue with this though. I'm like 99% sure the AI tries to actively sabotage you in team adventure races. I'm not even kidding. I've gone through so many of these attempts, I'm absolutely killing it in first place. One of the AI is doing perfectly fine, but the other one just refuses to play the game. Like in this race, where Shadow needed to hit top 3 to complete the goal, and during Team Ultimate he just decides to give up. Or Rouge pushing me away from the optimal route and causing me to void out repeatedly because the game kept placing me over the edge. And then there's this race. I'll let the clip speak for itself.
Once again, a shout out to Omega and Rouge actually locking in. Okay, not Omega anymore, but Omega's running in reverse! He's driving reverse! What is he doing?
The thing is, the team AI isn't bad in the local play Grand Prix mode. I'm willing to go as far as saying it's quite good actually. Throughout the regular Grand Prix mode, I didn't have to restart even once. Sure, sometimes they had some worse than perfect races, but oftentimes they were able to keep up quite well, something they never ever did in Team Adventure mode.
Ring race.
At first this sounds exactly like the ring races in Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, but the game doesn't have the transforming cards mechanic. There's no flying, so how does this go then? In this game, the rings are like Mario Kart's coins. You have to grab a significant amount of rings in order to win the event. For the highest score, you actually need way more than you get time for. Which is where the second aspect of the ring race comes into play, as it kind of cannibalizes the drift challenges from Transformed. While drifting, you gain more time every time you pick up rings. So these long stretches of rings are actually more akin to the drift challenge lanes. Daredevil. This one is a completely new challenge to Team Sonic Racing. In this challenge you have to go through the lit up zones while drifting. The yellow zones give you points, but the red zones gives you points and a multiplier. This makes it so that you need to go through the red zones as much as you can in order to keep your multiplier up, though you don't need to constantly go through the red zones necessarily. You can strategically go through some yellows if it's more comfortable, as long as you keep the multiplier up at 1.5 by going through the red zones, just about enough. These are decently challenging, if only because bumping into the center pillar instantly kills all your multiplier, which killed a few runs here and there. Elimination race. Every lap, the racer or racers in the last places get eliminated. It's still a team race though. The key challenge every single time is to not have a single team member eliminated. Effectively meaning you must end with all racers in top 3. Of course, as previously explained, the AI will cause you to have to retry this constantly. There's no rhyme or reason to it, just race and pray, there's nothing you can do. So good luck with that. In destruction missions, you destroy targets. If you drift through them, you get bonus points. I feel like I don't need to explain this any further, to be honest. In Egg Pawn Assault, there's a bunch of egg pawns driving over the course. Destroying them by bumping into them or firing rockets at them will grant you some extra time and points. The map ends when you're out of time or hit the platinum score. These are freebies, just don't get hit by the spiky ones and remember that the red ones drop bombs after they're defeated. Traffic Attack plays exactly like it does in Transformed, only this time instead of cars, they're these cute little robots. Now, for completing events and races, you'll gain these credits. They can be used in the mod pod section of the main menu, a gachapon machine that drops some cosmetics, horns, vinyls, card parts, and even these bonus boxes. Bonus boxes can be used to give you a slight edge in every event. I use these liberally when doing events that require you to hit a certain amount of team ultimates. Completing each key challenge nets you a new cosmetic unlockable, either a horn, vinyl, or palette. I'm sorry, I actually don't remember which one it was. By the time I got around to doing all of the key challenges, my mind just numbed completely, and to prevent having several hundreds of hours of just Sonic racing footage on my hard drive, I didn't exactly record the entire process. And at this point, I'm straight up too lazy to look it up. You get something, that's the most important thing, so you need to do it anyway. Completing every race style event on hard nets you a new vinyl per chapter, and completing every single one of them in expert mode nets you a new palette. These vinyls, horns, and palettes can be used in the garage, where you can customize each character's card with the different parts you get from mod pods, and dear god, I love this part of the game. Putting Shadow in the most fabulously pink car is the singular most enjoyable thing this game has to offer. I can't say I fully understand the stats, all I really did was pump the speed and boost to the highest level I could fathom with all the characters, to be honest. No idea what defense means either in the context of a kart racer, maybe it's like Mario Kart weight classes or something, I don't know. While I'm talking about the karts though, let's talk about the character classifications. Each of these characters is classified as either a speed, technique, or power character, and each of them, like how it was back in Sonic Riders, has a unique ability. Speed characters, such as Sonic, emit a burst of energy whenever they get a drift boost, allowing them to shatter incoming projectiles, within reason. Overall, I found this ability difficult to use consistently, but for most of the game I played speed characters due to their other defining traits. Speed characters are also defined by having some of the highest top speeds in the game. Technique characters, mostly characters who seem to have trouble fitting in either power or speed, such as Tails and Silver, have a unique ability in that their cars don't slow down nearly as much, if at all, in off-road. This makes them uniquely suited to some of the courses. They're also characterized by their excellent handling stats, making them very beginner-friendly characters, which is a bit strange considering they're called technique characters. Power characters like Knuckles are characterized by poor handling but a great boost stat and aren't slowed down by minor obstacles. What's considered a minor obstacle is anything that isn't an opponent's racer's item and can be destroyed with a rocket. By destroying minor obstacles, you also get more rings. Now, like Mario Kart's coins, having more rings apparently means having a higher top speed, but the game doesn't say by how much, nor does the ring counter really cap out anywhere. And I genuinely cannot tell you how many rings you need to get to top speed. Just seems like grabbing them is a good idea. So, a step back to the completionist checklist real quick, the time attacks. This time there's 21 courses to do a time attack on, and each of them has 4 scores to beat. You can simply select the highest one and go from there. Pick an appropriate character, load them up on speed and boost stats, and just drive well. Make sure to use the technique off-road skill on courses that have good off-road cuts, and you'll beat each of them in no time, assuming you leveled up enough. Myself, well, I'm hundreds of hours into this challenge at this point. My entire mind is just a Sonic race. Much like the time attacks on Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, it really wasn't much of an issue. Though I think I would be hard-pressed to do all of them without unlocking a lot of the customization parts, as the base ones are simply too slow for some of these. Probably. I'm sure one of my friends begs to differ. To that very specific person, I don't care, man. I've been doing this for nearly 2 months. I'm beyond tired at this point. There is one thing that I do need to say. Whoever decided every course uses the exact same unchangeable song for time trial needs to be fired. But then again, I guess they pretty much were, since they fired Sumo Digital for the next game anyway, so... On that note, I managed to tie the staff time while I was racing on my Steam Deck for one of the courses, and while in-game that didn't give me the medal, upon returning to the menu, the game seems to have given me a platinum medal anyway. So this is Schrodinger's platinum medal. I both have and do not have it. I can probably properly beat it, but I think having it like this is just funnier. Anyway, here's all my times. They're easily beatable because I just moved on whenever I beat a platinum time. You can find them on the online leaderboards as well. Just like for Sonic Racing Transformed now that I'm thinking about it. And now the absolute finale. I collected every part, I've done every time trial, and I've done every team adventure event in normal, hard, expert, got all the stars and all the keys, and the last thing standing in my way is the Grand Prix. No, I did not forget about this, I just figured I'd leave the worst part of the grind for last. Or at least so I thought. So, Grand Prix mode. There are 5 Grand Prix cups to get, each of them numbered, and at this point that feels strange. I don't have 3 models either, the cups are just a PNG. Still, 5 of them isn't too bad, right? The last game had 10 of them, and you'd be right, but in this game the difficulties are tracked separately. As are the team and individual Grand Prix cups, meaning we went from upwards of 20 mandatory Grand Prix runs, which really was only 10 or 20 depending on if you wanted to do World Tour or Grand Prix twice. We are now up to a total of 30 Grand Prix runs at minimum, of which you repeat each one at a different speed 3 times, and then once again doubled by a team and individual rule set. I'm just going to say it, this sucks. Like, I did expert, why do I need to prove myself in both hard and normal? And on top of that, you have to contend with AI team members or have local friends. Like previously explained though, the team AI is much better in this mode, and I didn't have to redo any of them, but at the same time, it's still doing each Grand Prix 6 times. However, I did do the individual rule set earlier while I was still grinding the rest out, leaving the team rule set for later, and in the end, because the team rule set AI was so much better here, I have to admit that quickly running through 15 cups in a day or so was honestly very refreshing, and it made me remember one thing. After all the pain and suffering these games have caused me, I do really like this game. I really enjoyed everything it had to offer. The card customization is fun, the banter between characters is enjoyable, even if a little bit cringe at times because I was playing as Shadow. Despite his AI's flaws, Omega is absolutely as hilarious as he's ever been in his own way. Big is a big doofus, Sonic and Silver not understanding one another as always is always a big highlight for me, and so on. Team Adventure mode absolutely sucked, there is no denying this, but the actual racing, when it works, feels just right. It feels tight and feels like it handles pretty damn well. The courses, if a little repetitive and samey, are also tight, and I love how long some of these courses last. I used to play a lot of Mario Kart, and each of the courses in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is tailor-made to being about 2 minutes long. Here, a course can easily take between 3 and 5 minutes, and there's a lot to learn and be aware of. Sometimes you'll lose and it's way out of your control. Other times the stars align and your race goes perfect and it just feels great. The items, while the fact they're all wisps is kind of boring, just like the last game, I do think the items here are fun to use. I ended up really liking Team Sonic Racing. It was a drag and a half to complete, if I'm honest, and I'd never tell anyone else to do it, but the racing is, well, it's just fun to me at least. But that's it, right? No, I just have one more thing left. There are no in-game achievements in the form of challenges, and I wasn't going to do achievements unless they were trackable in-game, but in the end that rule only accounted for Team Sonic Racing and Sonic Freeriders, and I ended up doing almost all the Steam achievements naturally, so I figured, why not just do all of them? If you're going to do this yourself, there are 2 specific ones to keep in mind. There's an achievement to beat a friend's time trial leaderboard. I'm not 100% sure if this counts if your personal best is already faster than your friend's ghost, so it's probably best you do this early if you have a friend who's not amazing at this game, or willing to play it with you at the very least. I thankfully caught this early and was able to set something up. This other achievement is hidden. It's playing as Eggman and hitting Sonic 3 times. This is one I didn't do naturally, but I was already at the point where I basically finished everything else, so after hundreds of hours of Sonic racing, taking the few extra minutes to get that damn hedgehog was fine enough. Just pick Eggman in Grand Prix mode and, well, go for it. Get that rotten hedgehog!
And then after Team Sonic Racing, well, that's it. Oh my god, it's finally over. Several months, hundreds of hours spent on these games, plenty of hand cramp, and however long it took to edit this video together as well. I even broke my controller doing this. The button doesn't really work that well anymore. You just watched the single biggest challenge I ever took on.
I started this challenge because I was so excited for Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and honestly, I still am. But I did start dreading its release date as it continued creeping ever closer while this video was in kind of a development hell for the past few months. Because the closer it got, the more I started to worry that this video was going to need another chapter to it, and it's already 2.5 hours long, I think. So let's just say I didn't want to add to the list. By now there's been an open network test, and depending on when you're watching this video, the demo might already be out, or maybe the entire game is already out. And I can say with the utmost certainty that this game will be just as troubling to complete as some of the other ones, if not outright worse. And so it will definitely have its own video. I'll probably be live streaming the 100% completion process as well, so if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the pinned comment down below. That being said, I want to give a massive shout out to everyone who's been supporting this channel, including Mr. Applebaum, Punkbolt, Awesome Swifter 11, Sophie Faye, Neo, and of course you for making it to the end of a 2.5 hour long video. Seriously, could not have done this without you. I hope the next video won't take 5 months to come out, but if it does end up taking it long and you want to be notified when it comes out, you should probably subscribe and hit the bell, you know, standard YouTube stuff. Anyway, I'll just start working on that right now. See you next time.